It's the DraftKings Sweat Show right here on DKTV, week 13 of the NFL season. And we have Monday Night Football here as the Dallas Cowboys and Washington Redskins are at it here. Kirk Cousins under center for the Redskins here to start the game. And we have plenty to get to tonight. We all have our normal stable of guests. We'll talk to some DK analysts, Andrew Wiggins, Adam Levitan, and David Kitchen. And we'll play some games with you guys. We'll bring you into the mix here via Twitter and hopefully via the power of the internet and power of video to discuss some top stats with you and some more games along the way. The Millionaire Maker taking a quick look at it here. You have a first place team that is likely to sit right there unless we get a big push by the Redskins defense here. But at the top, it is a team comprised of Ben Roethlisberger, Buck Allen, D'Angelo Williams, Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, Jeremy Maclin, Scott Chandler, Allen Robinson, and the Steelers. And we will see if we can get that user on the line later on in the show. But for now, 276.46 points is in first place. And that is who we are chasing tonight. In second place, we have C-Web 30 with 272.58 points. And they have the Redskins defense. They'll be looking for some interceptions, possible fumble recovery, sacks, and the rest to try to keep that hope alive as this game goes forward. And we've seen it before. We have seen defenses come through and do the job they'd be looking for tonight here. So we're going to keep it locked in. We'll pay attention to that, the qualifiers, all the other GPPs going on as well. And we'll talk to our DK analyst. And the first one up is Adam Levitan. We bring in Adam Levitan here as Washington already punting the ball away to Dallas. Adam, we are here in week 13. Plenty of storylines, as always, to talk about tonight. I know that you're trying to keep warm tonight. You have the shawl, the wrap.
Yeah.
But
if I keep rostering Julio Jones every week, I'm gonna, this heat bill is getting expensive down here in the basement. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. I unfortunately rostered Jake Cutler, so we can discuss that as the night progresses. Your play was better than mine for sure when rostering Julio Jones, but let's start there. Is it Matt Ryan? Is it the Falcons offense? Is he not getting targeted in the red zone? I agree with your puppy there. Angry at Falcons play calling, I'm sure. But overall, Adam, what do you take from that game? And do you think that Julio Jones is a questionable play at his price tag moving forward?
Yeah, Jerry, somebody just rang the doorbell. Jerry's going nuts. But yeah, on Julio, I mean, he had, I believe, 8 targets in the first half. And he ended up with 9, or 8 catches in the first half. He ended up with 9 catches. He did see like 17 targets, but I don't know. That's offense just seems broken. I think Kitchen has talked about this a lot. Like the Falcons offense just is not a juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination anymore that maybe we think that it is.
We've seen, obviously, Devonta Freeman come back down to earth in a big way. Injuries aside, has not produced the way we saw at the beginning of the year. An interesting week as we look back, and one of the big storylines from the NFL this week, Adam, was the QB wide receiver stack came through big time for a lot of folks. If you went Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown, you were rewarded. If you went Bortles and Allen Robinson, you were very well rewarded for the price tag. You get Marcus Mariota and Dorial Green-Beckham had a good game again for price tag. The list goes on and on here. Is this an outlier of a week, or do you think this is how GPPs are finding the right connection between the quarterback and the wide receiver?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think this is how it's been won. I know there's been some crazy lineup combinations that have won the Millie Maker before, but I think in your more standard GPPs, it's always a quarterback, wide receiver, or quarterback, tight end stack. Like they have by far the highest correlation with each other. So, yeah, I think we're seeing we can kind of pinpoint now like who guys' favorite targets are. Like, Mariota and Delaney clearly have something special going on, and Bortles and Allen Robinson clearly have it going on. So yeah, there's stuff like that I think the majority of the winners are going to have quarterback wide receiver stacks.
And a very high scoring week. And we know that each week is independent of the other. So comparing week over week isn't necessarily an endeavor we want to go down here. But when you see these gigantic scores, what do you think when you look back? And I don't want to be results oriented. I know that's a faux pas here, but what do you see when you see 276 leading the Millionaire Maker as such a big score?
Yeah, I mean, if you rostered a guy who didn't score a touchdown this week, like you should feel pretty bad about yourself. Like everybody scored a touchdown this week. Like I had a Titans Jags game stack going, like with Brandon Marshall. I thought like I had the nuts. I had like 205 points with 2 players left after the 1 o'clock games. I ended up like not even close to the top. So completely everybody went off, and when even guys that are super popular like Ben and Antonio Brown, when those guys even go off, then you know you're going to need a ton of points just to cash.
What do you make of tonight's game? NFC East, we've seen be putrid. Is that the right word? Terrible, sure. Disgusting, awful, marginal, uninspiring. I can keep going here, but we've seen poor play throughout the division, and we've seen that on any given night, any given game, we can see a giant scoring output, or we can see a 3-0 game through 3 quarters because both offenses are so terrible. You have Matt Castle in at QB against, I almost said Jason Campbell there. That is amazing. That is a throwback for you guys there. But either way, what do you make of tonight's game, and what do you see from these two teams as we may get a Redskins fumble recovery here, which would be a big pickup for our second place Millionaire Maker team. But what do you make out of tonight's game? And do you see the possibility of the Washington defense doing enough to make this a little bit of a sweat here?
Yeah, so first of all, I thought this was going to be a really slow game, like especially without Romo in there. Dallas is really going to try to take the air out of the ball. I would expect them to use the majority of their play clock on all of their offensive snaps. And the Redskins similarly have kind of been employing a ball control, Kirk Cousins as a game manager kind of offense. So I expected it to be not that many plays run in this game, kind of a really slow game, not one I was very interested in. I did have the Redskins defense at 2,300 above the Dolphins defense. And obviously it's going to be kind of hard for the Redskins defense to outscore the Dolphins at this point. But I did think the Redskins were a pretty good play given how important this game was to them, given the Monday night narrative, and given that Matt Castle was starting.
And sort of the Matt Schaub way of thinking of things when the opposing QB is that bad. You hope for some turnovers, and may have gotten one there right off the bat. So we do, and all of a sudden see Web 30, 274, spot 58, just 1.9 points out of first place in the Millionaire Maker with the Redskins defense. We may see a 0-0 score into overtime here tonight with the way these two teams have started the contest thus far. But we're going to bring in David Kitchen in just a moment to discuss this week's games. One last one for you, Adam, before we bring in Mr. Kitchen. When we look at somebody like Blake Bortles at this point in the season, he has put up very solid numbers. I think he's 8th overall in yardage. Overall stats puts him probably in the top 5 conversation for fantasy QBs this season. Week 13 quickly obviously turns to week 14. Is Bortles a consideration now as week over week a top option at the QB position, regardless of price?
Yeah. Price on DraftKings for quarterbacks really doesn't matter that much. Like if you're not going to Brady or Cam or Rodgers, like everybody else is between 5,000 and 6,000. So it's basically like, pick which quarterback you like best. It's been rare that I liked Bortles the best, but that's certainly been a mistake. And especially with Allen Hurns coming back this week, he's going to have Hurns, he's going to have Allen Robinson, and he's going to have Julius Thomas going up against the Colts. So I think it's certainly a fine spot for Bortles. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that I'll talk myself off him yet again. I've been doing that all year, but they're so pass happy. Like we've seen them be like the most pass happy team in the league, especially in the red zone.
Let's bring in David Kitchen from Nashville now, and he'll discuss this week's games with Adam and I. David, how are you this evening?
I'm doing good. Listen, I'm doing great.
You're looking good. You look very dapper tonight.
You're just saying that because it's true.
Yes, that yes. I like saying true things.
Well, I figured you'd like this because it's a plain white shirt, Dan, and right, right up your vanilla alley there, sir.
Vanilla ice cream's good. I'm not going to back down from that one. I'm gonna leave that out there. But David, your neck of the woods, Mariota, Green Beckham, and Delaney Walker would have netted, if you had them as a stack, 90.02 points on DraftKings. Do you like what you've seen out of Mariota since coming back from the injury? And do you think he is another quarterback who can be discussed as somebody that needs to be a viable option week over week, dependent of matchup, of course, but somebody you can at least trust a little bit more than you would a typical rookie in the NFL?
I mean, I don't know about that. What I do know is that he is shaping up to be an elite quarterback. Definitely better than that Andrew Luck fella. If you ask Drew Dinkmeyer and a lot of other people, not CSU Ram 88, because he thinks that Andrew Luck is the next Peyton Manning. So all I know is Mariota is the elite quarterback in the AFC South going forward. And in fact, on the matches breakdown last week, I talked with Adam about Mariota and his the ability to run. And while they haven't been really calling too many run plays, you saw him go for 87 yards and a 100-yard bonus. He's just going to be really fun to watch. And of course, there's going to be some matchup concerns, but I think for the most part, you probably don't want to play him against the Patriots either next week or the week after next. But I think for the most part, he's an electric player with some options that are explosive offensive talent around him. And I think he is a good play going forward.
Adam, better rushing quarterback at the present moment, Marcus Mariota or Blaine Gabbert? Gabbert with 6 rushes, 75 yards, and a TD, averaged 12.5 yards per carry. Obviously an outlier, but when you mention running quarterbacks here, is that just an added benefit? Is that something we need to consider when creating our lineups? Guys like Mariota, like Cam Newton, are these guys who add a different dimension because they can do things when their arms aren't doing the work, their legs can?
Yeah, I mean, the concern with Mariota, like we talked about on the matchups breakdown, is they're not calling runs for him. They also seem to be telling him don't scramble, which is kind of weird. Don't use one of your best assets. But I haven't gotten a chance to go back and watch that game yet. But it looked like he was scrambling at least more than he has at any point this season. And yeah, with Cam, they give him tons of designed runs, like options and goal line dives and all kinds of designed runs for Cam in any given game. And Cam's shown to be really durable through that. Maybe they're concerned Mariota isn't as durable. But yeah, that's one of the reasons that Cam has been the lock cash game quarterback all year, is because you're going to get 40 to 50 rushing yards, even if he doesn't throw that well in a certain game.
We will talk to some of our guests sweating out some of these major tournaments over on DraftKings throughout the night. We'll bring some on soon and some later in the second half. Also, a couple of trivia games for you guys and some more coming up along the way. So stay tuned here. And when the time comes, make sure to use the hashtag DKTV to get your questions in for David and Adam and Andrew later on, and whatever trivia we bring your way. Now, tonight, Dave, we have the Redskins and Cowboys. We've touched on it a little bit with Adam. It looks like we either have Deshaun Jackson, Darren McFadden, or Redskins defense being used by those who have a possibility to move up in the Millionaire Maker and these other large-scale tournaments. If you were to handicap those three, which do you think is most likely to influence tonight's contest in a positive manner and come up with the most DK points?
I mean, I don't know about the most DK points, but I think the most influential team is the Redskins. 15% owned in a Million Maker. That's a pretty high owned defense. 2,300 against Dallas. It was a defense that I was on, and I know a lot of other people were on. And so I know they already have a fumble recovery, and if they are able to put together a pretty decent game, then you're going to see a lot of teams start creeping up. If they're able to put kind of a meh game together, then it won't be that much. But, man, Dan, how lucky are you to be hosting a show that everybody's sweating the defense on the Monday night show? That just goes to show you, how terrible this Monday night game is.
It looks like a bad one. As you said, the point of 15% owned. So a lot of people on them, and they've already given 2 points on the fumble recovery. We'll see if they can keep the shutout going for much longer. Now, Adam, looking back at some of these individual games and some of the outputs that we have, something that stood out from watching the games and looking at results here is DeMarco Murray's role with the Eagles seems to be diminishing week over week. The Eagles came out with a victory. They win 35-28 over the New England Patriots. Do we see this negative correlation here? Is this moving away from Murray being the featured back and Chip Kelly trying to do different things? Or do we point to this specific game, Chip Kelly changing his style? There are rumors going around that DeMarco Murray may be quitting on the team, may not be giving max effort. Unnamed sources were cited many times. Is that enough now, coupled with the diminished touches and the diminished output, to stay away from him moving forward?
Oh, I mean, the Eagles have run the ball better with every back except for DeMarco Murray. Ryan Matthews has outplayed DeMarco Murray. Darren Sproles has outplayed DeMarco Murray, and Kenjon Barner even came in and outplayed DeMarco Murray. It's an odd situation because Chip Kelly is the GM and the general manager. And like Chip Kelly as a general manager is just a total disaster. Like the moves that he's made over the last 1 to 2 years are just completely awful. And he's, really messed himself up on the field because their receivers are terrible. He got rid of Deshaun Jackson and let Jeremy Maclin walk. The offensive line got really thinned out as he let guys walk. And then he went and spent $60 million on running backs, including 40 on DeMarco Murray. So it's weird. He's like, I signed this guy to a $40 million contract, but now he's hurting the team. But I think as we get to week 13, he's finally like, oh, I can't play DeMarco Murray anymore. It doesn't matter how much money I paid for this guy. We just got to bite the bullet and bench him. And I think we'll see that going forward. I think we'll see way more Sproles going forward. And I think once Ryan Matthews, if he can get healthy, we'll see way more of him. And yeah, DeMarco Murray is far out of play.
Looking back at some of these games, also, Dave, we have the Cardinals putting up a 27-3 win over St. Louis. We can talk about the Cardinals offense later, but is Todd Gurley off the map too? Just touches were down, didn't have many attempts in the second half. Looks like Jeff Fisher has gone away from him for some reason in a matchup that was relatively close in the first half. Do you see this running back change throughout this season and possibly Gurley moving down your depth chart of guys you're willing to take at the running back spot?
Well, because of his price play, if you played him, it was like strictly a contrarian play, and or because of his price point, rather, because all the other price points for running backs in really good spots were very good. So if you spent up on running back and in particular on Gurley, it was kind of just like a shot in the dark. This offense just is terrible. And because they have a terrible offense, it means that teams can focus on the run. And also, I'm pretty sure they fired their offensive coordinator. They did. So
they did. Frank Cignetti, former Rutgers University offensive coordinator, fired from the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah, and there's no way that that they can give Gurley any more touches than what he's been getting earlier on in the season. So I don't know. I don't think the tight end coach is going to come in and just automatically start playing him again. But who knows? If you talk about one coaching change that really has impacted this fantasy season, it's the Dolphins head coaching change and what they've done. And also the Titans, their offense has been a little better since they got rid of Wisenhunt. So maybe this helps them, but for the large part, I think you're wanting to stay away from Gurley, especially with the way that the price points are on DraftKings.
Gentlemen, we have plenty still to talk about. The Denver situation at running back with the C.J. Anderson injury and plenty more news from this past weekend of games. But first, we're going to go to our first guest of the night, and we're going to talk to, J-Lips 830, Jared Lipscomb out of Virginia. Jared, you are on the DK Sweat Show here on DK TV. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So this Redskins defense right now with the fumble recovery has moved you into first place, and obviously the 10 points for the shutout thus far. You're up 3.2 points thus far over the second place team. They have no one going. You're active, obviously, with the Redskins D. Talk to me right now. watching this Monday night game, and you are from Virginia. Are you a Redskins fan?
I'm actually a Cowboys fan. So that makes it hard to root for the Redskins defense, but tonight I'm going to have to do it.
So that is, and I don't use this word lightly, but that is hatred that typically runs pretty deep when it comes to those two teams, the Redskins and the Cowboys. So you have to put that passion aside for rooting against the Redskins as you have their defense going. But being a Cowboys fan, you know what Matt Castle brings or doesn't bring to the table. So do you like your chances tonight for the Redskins D to come up big?
I do like my chances. The Redskins have been playing pretty well, especially at home, and Cowboys' offense has been pretty terrible so far this year. So I like my chances.
You had Marcus Mariota, Buck Allen, D'Angelo Williams, Antonio Brown, Allen Robinson, Sammy Watkins, Scott Chandler, Brandon Marshall, and then, of course, what we're sweating tonight, the Redskins defense. We're about halfway through the first quarter, 0-0 the score, so not much going on in Monday Night Football. Surprise, surprise for you guys who have tuned in all year long and watched Monday Night Football. Not really a surprise at all, but you went with Mariota, but you didn't go with any of his receivers. Was that a specific play you had, or was it just the way your roster construction worked out on this week?
It's just the way it worked out. I had another entry in where I had Delaney Walker, but with the salary cap for this team, I just didn't have the room for him. So,
have you ever had an entry alive on a Monday night, and have you ever had an entry that has this much hanging on it here on DraftKings?
Never. I've won a few bucks here and there, but nothing ever to this extent.
How long have you been playing on DraftKings?
Only about a month or two.
What? So are you a season-long guy who got drawn in by the draw of daily as your season-long winded down, or is it something you just heard about over time and decided to get involved in?
Yeah, my friend sent me a link to join one week towards the beginning of the season, so I figured I'd give it a shot, and ever since then I've been playing.
Do you find yourself strategizing more on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or are you a Sunday morning research guy? I find that once Monday night's over, by the time I get home from doing the show, I'm already looking forward to next week. When do you start really locking down what you're trying to do from a research perspective?
I look at it a little bit throughout the week, but usually I pick the teams Saturday, and then Sunday morning I go over to make sure everything looks right.
If this result holds, if this Redskins defense comes through, shutout, or maybe a couple more turnovers that equal out some of the points here, what does this sort of win mean for you, and what would you do from here on a personal standpoint?
This would be awesome. I could pay off some debt from college. That's always nice. And then I'll keep playing DraftKings, but definitely this will be nice to have, knowing I have it in my back pocket.
Are you still a student now, or are you out?
I'm done now.
Yeah, that's a good place to be, and that wonderful place of those monthly payments to whatever provider you have of student loans. We're all there. I think we all know what that's like at this present moment. Are you watching alone? Are you sitting by yourself and sweating this by yourself, or do you have friends and family?
Two of my roommates are in the kitchen right now, so not by myself.
All right. So are they getting a snack or just leaving you alone while you're appearing here on DKT?
Maybe a little bit of both.
Fair enough. And we appreciate the time they're giving you here. As you watch this game tonight, we already talked about the fact that you're sort of, as a fan, rooting one side, and as a daily fantasy player having to root the other. What do you expect to unfold tonight? Do you think this is a 0-0 sort of game, or do you see more passing attempts as we move on and potential for more turnovers?
I think it'll be more passing, but I think it'll be fairly low scoring because both defenses are pretty good. I know Dallas defense has been playing really well this year. The Redskins have been playing well as of late, so we'll see. If
you were general manager for the Cowboys, what do you do with Tony Romo?
I personally like Tony Romo. I say you rest him, obviously, the rest of the year, and I don't think they'll be in the playoffs. And I think you give him a shot next year. And if he gets hurt again, then you got to start looking at other options. But for right now, I like Tony Romo.
He, comparatively to what else is going on in Dallas, is certainly a positive comparatively, but hopefully the injury heals and he's able to come back. Jared, we appreciate the time. We'd love to come back to you later on tonight as this game unfolds if you're around, and we wish you the best of luck and hope to talk to you again in a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's Jared, JLips 830. We'll discuss his username later on if we get him back on. Pretty straightforward, I think, but confirm what the 830 is, assuming an August 30th birthday, but you never know. Things can be a little bit different than that. We are still 0-0 in this contest. It slowed down a bit over the past minute and a half of game time as Dallas has started to put a bit of a drive together here. And we bring back in Adam Levitan and David Kitchen talking about Week 13 of the NFL season and tonight's Monday night game. After talking to Jared there, it seems like we have a similar discussion each week. Love to pay off some of that student loan debt. Love to maybe take a vacation. All things that make a ton of sense as these guys sweat out their contest, and that was the $375K slant. Now, Adam, looking back on Week 13, we saw what Cam Newton continues to do, and we mentioned it before with using his feet. We can look at numbers and decide whether or not it's a MVP type season or not from a NFL perspective. I know, David, you have an opinion on this as well. But from a daily fantasy perspective, you already touched on it a little bit. How valuable has Cam been from a daily fantasy perspective, even at a dollar per point or point per 1,000K perspective? His consistency, his ability to do things in a multifaceted way, how valuable has he been week over week for owners who have relied on him for stability?
Yeah. I don't like to think of higher price quarterbacks as the most valuable because, as we talked about before, I think paying down is often a way to go unless you go Jay Cutler in week 13, apparently. But
it was awesome. It was awesome going Jay Cutler week 13. It felt really good to watch that game unfold.
But yeah, I mean, I think Cam has probably been the most consistent player in the league, both statistically and in real life. I would be shocked. Does Kitchen have a non-Cam for real life MVP take that I'm missing?
I will let Mr. Kitchen fill in. I've been privy to some discussions in the past that are pro and con Cam on different levels. Where do you fit into this conversation, Dave, on Cam as a daily fantasy and fantasy MVP and as a NFL most valuable player?
Okay, I need to set those testing. I need to set this record straight because I think Cam Newton is amazing. I think he's been the quarterback that I've rostered the most this season. He has, I rostered him everywhere yesterday. He has won me more money than any quarterback I've played this season. However, he had just what we call a donkey play, was just a dumb play where he rolled to the right to the end zone or scrambled and then just thought that he had a free pass because he was looking at only one defender. And so he just kind of moseyed on into the corner of the end zone and got popped. And I was like, oh no. Like I thought, because he was like slow to get up. I mean, he got just absolutely popped. And he was, for all the credit that he's gotten for maturing, that was like a play from old Cam. And I said, listen, you're not going to see the greats, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, doing that. The fellow still has a ways to go. I still think he's great. I still think he's an MVP. However, that play was just ridiculous. That's all I was saying on Twitter.
His whole season. You're going to let one play where he was showing the swag that he has. He was going to give him the, you know what I mean?
No, I'm not letting that one play define his season or his career. I'm saying that one play is just a little nugget of that he still has a little ways to go. Yes, he gives the ball to the kids, which is great. I think it's amazing. I think him like dancing with the kids in the preseason is amazing. But what I'm saying is that just that one play, I have the ability to say that one play was pretty silly.
This is a bad take. This is a bad take.
No, it's not. I can say this play was dumb and still think he's an MVP and a fantasy MVP. You're a bad take, Levitan. You're a freaking bad take. Don't get me started.
I'm with you. I can understand. I do think you can separate them out. You're not nailing him down as a non-candidate for MVP simply because of that play, and you want to see him run that play all the way through, and I can understand that as well. But Adam and Dave, you both believe he is at least one of the top options for the MVP race. If you had to put him against Tom Brady this season, now Brady coming off of 2 losses, Cam Newton obviously with the undefeated season still going, who's your take there? Who are you taking from a NFL perspective first? Adam, let's start there, and then we can talk more about fantasy as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's Cam for me. I mean, look who he's doing it with. Just total garbage. And I know Brady is missing Gronk now, but he did have Gronk. He did have Edelman. He did have Dion Lewis. Now you can see without those guys, Brady is starting to struggle a bit. I mean, Cam is doing it with Ted Ginn, who is certainly one of the worst receivers in the league. They don't even play Devin Funchess. They're playing guys like Philly Brown and Jericho Cotchery. I mean, it's a joke and Cam has just put him on their back. So I'm sorry that he, slowly kind of jogged into the end zone. Time. Might be a little tired from carrying the team on his back for the whole season.
Yeah, that's what it was. Why wouldn't I think of that? He was tired. And that's why he was smiling at the defense as well. No, Cam is the MVP. Absolutely. And he's 12-0, and he should be the MVP. But that play was dumb. If I'm, it's like you're a coach and you say, I don't think you're dumb, but I think that play is dumb. That's what I'm saying.
Is that a line you used in your coaching career, Mr. Kitchen?
Heck yeah. And you can call me Coach K.
Coach K.
Strafford.
Coach K. I'm in. That's fine. I am from now on. That is all I will refer to you as.
No, but the thing with Cam, though, talking about just the beautiful thing about Cam, we saw this with Kaepernick when he was not terrible. Running QBs have just a much higher floor because they get those yards, and that's what we're seeing with Cam. They called that design play action bootleg on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. Or you got 35 yards off of it. They can do it. You can do a lot with a running quarterback, and that's why he's so good. That's why I rostered him yesterday, is because even though he was expensive, the price on DraftKings are so soft. Where if you had David Johnson and Scott Chandler at pretty much minimum salary about those positions, then
David, I do want to interrupt you. I was going to say I don't want to interrupt you, but I am, in fact, interrupting you for starting at 9:05. We're going to start giving away some DK swag here on the DK Sweat Show via Twitter, via this stream as well. We will have some trivia coming up, and the first trivia question is going to be now. And don't forget to use the hashtag DKTV for your answers. The first giveaway will be some points to buy a pair of very awesome DK socks in the VIP store. So the first question of the night is, name 2 of the 3 wide receivers from the Sunday Perfect lineup. 2 of the 3 wide receivers from the Sunday Perfect lineup. Use the hashtag that is DKTV, and we will have more giveaways over the next hour between 9 and 10 p.m. Trivia and more coming your way here on the DK Sweat Show on DKTV. Coach K, you were saying.
Oh, that was pretty much it. If you don't have DraftKings socks, you're not really a VIP anyways. Do you have DraftKings socks, Adam?
No, I have a ton of VPPs right now, and I'm saving up for something big.
You don't have any DraftKings socks?
I'm saving up for a DFS lesson from Peter Jennings. 88.
All right, Adam. Since I feel bad, I've got so many DraftKings socks. I am Soccer Dave after all. I'll give you.
I don't do used socks, bro.
He didn't say anything about them being used.
Yeah,
I've
I've got like
you have unopened socks you want to give me?
I've got so many socks that I have unopened socks.
To be eligible for this contest, don't forget you have to use the hashtag DKTV in your response. If you do not use the hashtag, you will not be eligible. We are giving away DraftKings socks here on the DK Sweat Show. I am rocking some sweet socks tonight. They are not DraftKings socks. Maybe they'll make an appearance later. Very festive for the month of December. But again, the 2 out of the 3 wide receivers who are in the Sunday perfect lineup is the question. Hashtag DKTV. Now, gentlemen, we continue on here talking about this contest, the Millionaire Maker this week. And next week on DraftKings, we have the Millionaire Maker changing its entry. It is $3 to get into.
$3.
$3 to get into the Millionaire Maker.
That's a lot of money.
So does strategy change? Does how the number of entrants that we're moving to and the cost of entry change how Dave, Adam, you yourself will enter, and how you may on the preview show or on the variety of videos you guys produce here on DKTV, what advice you give to a typical user, how they should go about entering the Millionaire Maker this week? Adam, you first.
Yeah, over 900,000 entrants. I mean, you are going to need the perfect guy at every single spot. So maybe it's not a stack situation. I don't know. Like, yeah, if a quarterback throws 4 touchdowns to 1 wide receiver, obviously you're going to need that stack. But if that doesn't happen, you're going to need the perfect spot at each position. So I don't know. I haven't really thought too much about strategy for a tournament with a million people in it.
I don't think anything is changing. As far as the $27 entry to the $3 entry, I think you're still the same strategies that you would use to win the $27 entry, or the $20 entry. I'm sorry, what you use with a $3 entry, and each week is its own individual week. So yeah, there are some things that you probably don't want to do. You probably don't want to play 4 guys from the same team, but you wouldn't want to do that in the regular Millie Maker anyways, even though you could have like 90 points if you played 3 guys, like you said, from the Titans or the Steelers yesterday. You could probably have 100 points.
Yeah, the guy in first has 4 Steelers, right?
Right. So, I mean, and that happened last year too. I think you had Al won a qualifier with 3 wide receivers not paired with his quarterback. 3 Broncos wide receivers.
Yeah, I remember that happening last year. Yeah.
So all sorts of strategies are in play, and you do with those strategies what you want.
The next giveaway here on DKTV, the DK Sweat Show, a $109 ticket on the line. Don't forget, it's hashtag DKTV. I'm just making it rain, Dave. It's coming out everywhere.
You went from socks to a 109 ticket.
We ramp it up quickly, Adam. It is from 0 to 60 here. We're hitting 88. It's 1.21 gigawatts. We're ready to go here on the DK Sweat Show. The question: in what city, where was the Week 1 Sweat Show held? Where was the Week 1 Sweat Show held? Again, hashtag DKTV on Twitter. Responses now for a $109 ticket on DK on DraftKings.com. Obviously, David, you were there. Adam, I believe you were there.
Yes, sir.
And we will reveal that answer in just a moment. We'll also reveal 2 of the 3 wide receivers in a little bit. And we'll keep these questions rolling along here. We're through the first quarter of this riveting Cowboys-Redskins game. And Cowboys are starting to drive a bit behind Matt Castle, some running back passes, and a nice segue there for me here. You had James White and Buck Allen both put up big numbers from receiving this past week. And we knew that's something that Buck Allen could do. We knew that New England likes to throw the ball to a running back. I assume we can't get sucked into the vortex that is the New England backfield. But do you like Buck Allen from a balanced attack perspective, Adam, moving forward? And can you trust that offense enough to roster him moving forward?
Yeah, so I liked Buck Allen this past week. I didn't use him at all, mostly because I thought he was just a little bit too expensive. But you can see what happens when a guy is so good in the pass game and he's facing a really bad defense. I mean, Buck Allen's calling card coming out of USC was everything he did as a receiver and really not much he did as a runner. So it makes sense. It's just like, DraftKings adjusted to Buck Allen's role very quickly. I believe he was like 5,400. 5,400 last week. I'm not sure what he is going forward, but anytime a guy can catch the ball like that, he's going to have huge upside. I'm looking for who they're playing here. Oh, they're home against Seattle. So yeah, I do not think I'll be back on Buck Allen this week, but I mean, the kid can definitely play in the pass game. That's for sure.
Congrats to Joshua 3 Trainum, winner of the Sox. He guessed Allen Robinson and Brandon Marshall. You see a shot there of the wonderful socks from the DK store, from the VIP store on DraftKings.com. They look comfortable. They look warm. We're rolling into winter here. They are not the Soccer Dave socks we saw last week while Dave was talking to Andrew while the blocked kick and return for a touchdown happened here live on air. But nonetheless, they are a good pair of socks. And don't forget, any of your answers on Twitter need to have the hashtag DKTV to be eligible as the Redskins with the ball back in their half of the field here to start the second quarter, running with Alfred Morris there. A Twitter question for both of you guys as we sit here. We have a question from Jake Agnello, at Jake Agnello. Were Antonio Brown's celebrations more impressive than his touchdowns? Now, I'm sure everyone has seen by now. I don't know how else to describe this, but his flying V towards the field goal posts there and his falling to the ground thereafter. David, what do you say? What were the touchdowns or the celebrations more impressive?
Oh, the celebrations were 100%. It reminded me of the cartoons, the skier that just goes and gets and then just like slides down. But I think that's what he might have tried to do, but he was going so fast. Like I watched the Vine probably 20 times in a row, and it was funny every time.
Adam, yourself, which was more impressive? And actually, a better question: what did you make of Brown being in there on the punt return up big? Is that asking for trouble?
Oh yeah, so dumb to have him in there. And
now, were you an Antonio Brown owner this week?
I was a partial Antonio Brown owner. I still think that play cost me money. But yeah, the celebration, I do not think he meant to do that. I think what he was trying to do was do like a Spider-Man thing where he's running as fast as he can, and then he jumps and like sticks all 2 feet and two hands, sticks them all onto the goalpost and just kind of holds it, not hugs it, but holds it like Spider-Man would. And he screwed that up. And so I can't be impressed by that because he wasn't doing what he was trying. He didn't do what he was trying to do.
Also, I think the reason why he was in there is because Jacoby Jones muffed not 1, but 2 punts last night. And if you saw Tomlin, he was not too pleased. He told a sideline reporter that he was done. I mean, so that's why Antonio Brown was at the end of the game.
Congrats to M. Laura, at M. Laura, winner of the $109 ticket. David, where were you week 1?
I was in Miami.
An inspired answer, David. Well done. Coach K doing his thing right there. That is for sure. We continue here on the DK Sweat Show. 0-0 still the score. We have a perfect game being thrown by Dallas, a no-hitter by Washington thus far, and we'll keep an eye on this as we continue on tonight. We do have second place, C-Web 30, still 1.9 points out with the Redskins defense. Things are looking good thus far for him, hoping for another turnover in some way, shape, or form, whether from Castle or from a running back. And the Redskins offense, we are keeping an eye on Deshaun Jackson in this one. as well as Darren McFadden for the Cowboys. That's where we see most of the ownership, but a fairly light night from an ownership perspective. We do have 15% ownership of the Redskins defense. So things to keep an eye on as we move forward. Adam, we've seen Russell Wilson progress over the past 3 weeks. I think I pulled some stats on him, and I see if I can pull them up here. I don't have him present in front of me, but he's 11 touchdowns, I know, and no interceptions over the past 3 weeks, up over 800 yards passing over those 3 weeks as well. Went into this game this weekend, found Doug Baldwin again. Is he moving enough forward with these games that you like what you see, or do you need to see more out of him and a better matchup moving forward?
No, I was on Russell 2 weeks ago, and I thought he was a pretty good fade yesterday, and he proved me wrong going into Minnesota, a defense that maybe on paper hasn't played that well, but I have some respect for. So I thought he would, without Jimmy Graham in there, I thought he was a pretty decent fade, and he completely went off. He's going to be super popular this week coming forward because he's facing the Ravens, who defend the run really well, but are really bad in the against the pass. So he's going to be super, super popular again, or he'll be super popular, way more popular than this past week. I'm not going to say I'm going to be back on him in this road spot. It just feels like too many people will be on him. But yeah, it seems like he has kind of turned the corner with his season.
Next question coming up here for trivia. Don't forget, guys, chatting away on YouTube. Love the chat there, but also to be entered into these contests, you need to head over to Twitter, use the hashtag DKTV to enter your answer in this contest. That's where we're monitoring the answers for these trivia questions. On the line here, a bottle of the world-famous DraftKings hot sauce, a favorite of my wife's. I received a bottle last season from watching the DK Sweat Show. And here I am. Look at me now, Ma. Here I am hosting. But on the line here is a bottle of the DK hot sauce. The wife loved it. She is a hot sauce connoisseur, so take that for what it is. David, you have a comment.
No.
You have it.
Nope. I was going to say cue the CSU Ram 88 hot sauce .gif.
There it is.
If you remember, he on last year's show, he chugged hot sauce on the show, and in slow mo, it was quite a sight. Of course, I know your wife enjoys hot things, Stan, because look at you. Hello?
You're good.
Hey, can I ask a question though, real quick?
I'm gonna get this trivia out first, and then we'll go to your question. The trivia question is: name the 2 running backs that were among the top 20 highest scoring players of any position on DraftKings this past Sunday. So the 2 running backs that were among the top 20 highest scoring players of any position on DK this Sunday. Hashtag DKTV to enter, and you will win a bottle of the DraftKings hot sauce. David, your question was?
All right. It was a question for Adam. You have to choose between the Seahawks or the Panthers right now to win it all. You choose one team. Who do you have?
Panthers.
Get out of here. Get out of here, guy.
Hey, but Dave, are you basing that off of experience? Where do you see Seattle being the better team?
Their offense is clicking on all cylinders right now, and their defense is still good. Just give me the Seahawks over the Panthers now with the way they've been going.
You have no concern that part of that offense that is clicking is Doug Baldwin?
None, because Russ is the GOAT. And Baldwin's played good. They've been clicking on all cylinders. Russ has been doing great. Their defense has been stifling. I just think if you had to give me a choice, give me the Seahawks. Plus, Panthers are due. The due factor.
That's another bad take.
Okay, that was a bad take. That was a bad take. But the Seahawks over the Panthers, not a bad take. Give me them.
We have the answer coming up for that last question. It's who we talked about just moments ago. The answer, Buck Allen and James White. So we'll have a winner for the...
Way to give it away, Dan. Freaking A. Could you give that away anymore?
Well, I try to give the people some foreshadowing here. I try to let them be involved. And what I will say when we play Read Between the Lines later, the research is not as extensive as you may think. The top 40 teams in the Millionaire Maker is where I focus my time. So if you are a participant later on, and Adam, don't worry, we're not going to make you do it again. You're free to put your blanket back on and warm yourself up and figure out what you need for the night. But the thing we'll get to with Read Between the Lines is that it's the top 40 teams is where I focus. So you see that it's typically the higher performing players are mixed in. You may have a higher owned player in there as well because of ownership percentages and where people will push them to the forefront. Continue here with the Redskins and Cowboys. The Cowboys with the ball back. It looks like the Redskins may have picked up another sack. As we keep an eye on that and what influence it will have here in the Millionaire Maker for C-Web 30 as 274 spot 5-8 trailing 276 spot 4-6 and see if that was in fact ruled a sack or not in mere moments. But gentlemen, this seems like an ugly game, and ugly games can...
No, it is an ugly game, Dan. It doesn't seem like it. It is an ugly game.
So we are down to less than a point separating first and second place in the Millionaire Maker with that sack. Obviously, any points scored by Dallas will change this fairly quickly, but if the Redskins can continue with the shutout and pick up another sack, pick up a forced fumble, an interception, whatever it may be, we may have a change of leadership here in the Millionaire Maker as C-Web 30 trails by less than a point now on tonight's game. We have another trivia question for a $100 ticket this time around. Name the team that scored the most points on DraftKings this Sunday, meaning all the players on that team, not taking a defense special team. So the team that had the most DK points scored this weekend. Again, hashtag DKTV to enter into this contest. Name the team that scored the most points on DraftKings this Sunday. Again, to clarify, all the players on that team, not talking a defense or special teams specifically. So we'll get to that answer in just a moment. $100 ticket is on the line with that trivia question. Read Between the Lines going to come up a little later on. We also have another game slated, put together by the great production staff here for DKTV, and that is going to be called Guess Who? And we'll get to that in a little bit, where you'll have to determine via an image who a player is and send your guesses in. So that will be a good one.
Wasn't that the name of the game where you...
Yep, the cards.
Yeah. You would do this.
Yep.
Does he have a beard? Does he have... I bet Adam didn't play that game. Did you, Adam?
I don't know what game you're talking about.
Guess Who? The freaking game, Guess Who?
All right.
I played Guess Who.
Okay. I was going to be...
It's not my go-to.
Can we have another game? What
is your go-to game? If we're going to...
Yeah, I was into Scrabble more.
I'm not even laughing at you, Adam. The laugh of David just is so infectious.
About Scrabble.
Oh man, something's wrong with my audio. I just thought that I heard Levitan say his go-to game growing up was Scrabble. No, I'm just kidding. I like that game, but it was like after. It was like not my game growing up. Whose go-to game was Scrabble growing up?
Apparently, Adam.
I'm gonna do this right here. Mine was. I will say mine after Dan says his. What was yours, Dan?
We played a lot of Operation. As we got older, I had older brothers, so we were playing a lot of Trivial Pursuit. So I always lost. And then played a lot of Chutes and Ladders, Candyland when I was younger.
Chutes and Ladders growing up. Also, Uno. Uno was like a go-to family night game for us. And Candyland.
Yep.
Apparently I cried during Candyland because number one, I didn't win. And then when I came back, my family let me win and I cried again because they let me win.
Understood. My niece is very competitive and does not like playing board games anymore because the potential to lose is there. So
have you guys played the celebrity game? Like the charades game where you write down celebrities, you have 3 rounds.
Yes. I host a game night where I actually make the games for like the Hollywood game night that they have on TV. I make them, and then we play celebrity after that. So it's a fairly regular occurrence in the Strafford household.
Like I don't want this to sound like braggadocious, but I'm probably the best.
You would lose.
Dan, don't you dare.
You would lose.
Can we get Adam to do a country accent, cowboy? Since the Cowboys are playing, I want Adam to give a cowboy impersonation right now on the spot.
Old Jera here.
No, we're stopping this.
We're gonna let old Jera here. We're gonna let DeMarco Murray go, but with DeMarco Murray gone, we're just gonna put Joe Randall in there, and everything's gonna be okay. With the running.
Are you Southern or from Brooklyn? What was that? Coming up at 9:30, we have a double swag giveaway coming up at 9:30. Double swag giveaway. It will not be voice lessons from Adam Levitan. That is for sure. I think that was like a guy who was living in Brooklyn for 30 years, moved to Nashville for 2, and tried to do an accent.
That was the best. That by far, that will be the highlight of my night. You can't give that up. In fact, I'm going to go on replay and listen to it.
Can you auto-tune it for me? Can we do that?
We might could for sure.
Still 0-0. Dallas driving again into Washington territory. We've talked about it. The Washington defense is in second place right now in the Millionaire Maker, also in use in a variety of qualifiers as well. So this could put points on the board for Dallas, and that would change the landscape just a bit here as the Redskins defense has netted 13 points thus far with the shutout still going on. So Southern accents aside, Adam, I appreciate you. Know that. We appreciate what you do here on the show. Accents are not one of those things, though. Please.
No, don't you dare, Dan. He can use that accent whenever. Adam, who's winning the Listener League? Can we get some Listener League updates?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure who's winning the Listener League, but the 4-man, this turned out to be a really bad idea because last week, me, Al, and Peter all got beat by the Listener. And then this week, me, Al, and Pete are all about to get beat by the Listener again. So if nothing else, this has been a total humiliation, this idea to let the Listeners into the 4-man league.
I've got a 205. Would I be winning that 4-man?
Yes.
Yes. I get to be in next week's 4-man then.
Do you listen to the podcast?
Is really we were filling like 1,000 people and then 1,250 on like Sunday morning, but then once we announced that we would let the Listener into the 4-man, it started filling on like Friday night. So we filled 1,250 on Friday night, and then this past week we filled 1,500 on Friday night. Everybody wants a piece of us in the 4-man, and with good reason. It's like free money. It's like free $72 for them once they get into the 4-man.
And bragging rights. You should give them a shirt.
And what would the shirt say?
I beat the.
I would say I beat Al Smizzle, CSU Ram, and Adam Levitan.
Or you probably wouldn't have that. You probably wouldn't have that many words on the shirt. So just say I beat the 3 donkeys on the Daily Fantasy Edge podcast.
Just so you know, you used the same amount of words I was, but that's fine. That's fine, David. Coach K drawing up the plays here and executing them live on the DK Sweat Show. Dallas puts 3 points on the board. That takes 3 points off of the Redskins score. So C-Web 30 drops back to 3.9 points back. Dave, are you on the Redskins defense?
Yes.
Across cash games?
Yes.
All right.
They were 2,300. That's what I said. They're the team that I used. 15% in the Million Maker. A lot of if they can get a pick 6, if they can get up to 20 points, you're going to see just all the teams at the end with Washington D up there.
We are continuing on here on the DK Sweat Show. Adam Levitan and David Kitchen here with us now. We'll have some more guests coming up in a little bit. We'll have a DK swag giveaway coming up, read between the lines coming up at halftime and in the fourth quarter, and our Guess Who game. All that and more here as we get through tonight's Monday night football game. And we look towards this Eagles defense, Adam. Now, we've talked about the variance of defense week over week, and in a game where they gave up points, where points were on the board for the Patriots, they still put up 27 DraftKings points for 2,300. The aforementioned, I know, David, you mentioned, I believe you mentioned the Eagles before. Are we looking back at the Eagles as a team that can force takeaways, force turnovers, and do it with regularity, or is this just too much of a roller coaster of a defense that, unless price point continues to be down and matchup is there, they're not worth targeting?
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles play an aggressive brand of defense, and they're explosive on special teams too with Sproles. So they're always a defense that I'm somewhat interested in. I do think that they'll have a letdown this week against Ty God coming to town. I think the Bills are going to play pretty well in that game and kind of shock the Eagles back to where they should be. So it's not a defense that I would necessarily be on a ton this week, but it's always about matchups. I haven't really looked through too hard to think about which cheap defense I can be on this week.
We're 3-0 in tonight's Dallas-Washington game, a low-scoring game thus far, and we have our next question for trivia here. Remember, hashtag DKTV to enter. Needs to be on Twitter as well. So hashtag DKTV. The question, well, first the prizes, a DK snapback and the latest Bales book on the line here for this trivia question. So a DK snapback and the latest Bales book. The question is, name the lowest scoring Monday Night Football game ever. The lowest scoring Monday Night Football game ever. Hashtag DKTV. David, I'm sure it feels as though you have worked the DK Sweat Show for a number of the lowest scoring Monday Night Football games ever.
All of them.
And so we're looking for the two teams in the Monday Night Football game. Hashtag DKTV. Two teams that took part. If you want to throw the date in, you want to throw what the score is, fine. The two teams that took part in the lowest scoring Monday Night Football game ever. Hashtag DKTV. Now, looking back at running back output this past week, we talked about Buck Allen and we hit on James White. You saw out of the Jets, Adam, a little bit of a change. I don't know if it was the way the game went and they changed operation, or they saw with the Giants secondary, they needed to throw more. But you had Ryan Fitzpatrick throw the ball 50 times. And Chris Ivory get a limited number of carries. You had Bilal Powell with a big catch and run for a touchdown. Is this a emerging Jet strategy with Marshall and Decker letting Fitzpatrick do a little bit more of throwing? Or do you think they get back to sort of more of the power with Chris Ivory as we move forward?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way you beat the Giants. This is the Giants defense that has the stone worst secondary in terms of, numbers, passing yards allowed per game, even worse than the Saints. So everybody passes on the Giants, even though I think the Giants do have some talent, especially at corner with Prince and Rogers Cromartie. It just doesn't matter. Like, their scheme and their safeties and their linebackers are so bad that everybody can just throw on them. So I think that was more game plan specific. I believe the Jets host the Titans this week, and I would expect kind of to return to normalcy for Fitzpatrick, maybe 30 to 35 attempts instead of, the monster usage.
And the beginning of that game, the Giants were getting a lot of pressure on Fitzpatrick, had a tough time hanging in the pocket, getting hit a lot by the club of Jason Pierre-Paul and the rest of the Giants line throughout that contest. So before, gentlemen, I had said that if you stack together Mariota, Green Beckham, and Delaney Walker, you get 90.02 points. What was the next closest quarterback, wide receiver, tight end combo? And that question is for you two.
Big Ben, Brown, and
Martavis.
Sorry, QB, wide receiver, tight end.
Julius Thomas, Bortles, and Allen Robinson.
That would be my answer that I thought of before Adam.
Cam Newton, Ginn Jr., and Olsen had 89.04 DraftKings points.
Yep, I knew Adam was wrong.
So
I'm never right at these things.
Trivia is not your forte. I don't know how you'd play celebrity, Adam. I don't know.
Yeah, I would like to see a death match, trivia death match between Adam and Drew, because they're both just not great.
The old celebrity death match where the claymation in the squared circle over
I
on.
definitely watched that on MTV. I
Yep.
definitely watched that. Did you watch it, Adam?
What was it called?
Celebrity Deathmatch, where they had the clay characters that were like
I thought it was
celebrities.
really
They
stupid.
would.
Yeah, I remember it, but I thought it was really stupid.
I mean, it was stupid.
I watch sports, dude.
What was the dumbest show that you guys watched when you're like Ren and Stimpy?
Ren and Stimpy, Beavis and Butthead were both up there from a.
I know the DKTV production crew, they love Rocco's Modern Life, which was pretty dumb, but I still enjoyed it.
Another Twitter question for the two of you. This one from D Verdict 1. And this is more specifically to a question here of, is Blake Bortles turning into the next Big Ben? So a direct comp there, Adam, of Bortles to Ben. We talked about Bortles earlier, specific to his rise into a top 10, if not a top 5 fantasy quarterback. But do you think a comparison here to Big Ben is an apt one?
I guess he's thinking that comp because they kind of have the same physical attributes. I think Bortles is a way more athletic and able to use his legs a little bit more to create plays. Yeah, I don't hate that comp, but I think Big Ben is just like so under control in the pocket right now. Bortles has a long way to go in that regard. And I think a big reason that Bortles is putting up so many big numbers is just because they're so pass happy, as I already mentioned.
Another Twitter question here, and we talked about this before, but I do think it's worth touching now, especially talking about the $3 Millionaire Maker, 900,000 plus entries therein. This is from Joe Nelligan, at Joe Nelligan on Twitter. What's the most common mistake that players who are new to daily fantasy and new to tournaments and GPPs specifically, what's the most common mistake you guys see from new players or people new to tournaments? Dave, let's start with you. What's the one thing or the one common mistake you see come across as you talk to new players who are trying to get into playing tournaments on DraftKings?
Is this a trivia question? Because I know the answer. It's playing a guy in your flex spot when you have other guys in that position that haven't played yet. So you see a lot of times people that have players playing on Sunday or Monday night, or in the NBA playing the late games. They will, or really just football because the flex, or NBA too. But anyways, they use the flex spot for the early games, and so it just limits the amount of strategy that you can use in a tournament or a GPP because you're restricted to that one position, whereas in the flex you can use multiple positions.
Adam, do you see a different error from folks you talk to as they try to get into tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of more nuts and bolts. I was thinking more that, a lot of new players think that whatever happened last week is definitely going to happen the following week. So, a lot of times in the NFL, guys go like this throughout the course of a year, especially some of your, non kind of mid-level guys. So yeah, I think, trying to roster a tournament team of the guys that hit this past week is not necessarily a good idea.
Makes a lot of sense. One last Twitter question here. We'll have another guest coming up in a few moments, and this comes from JSC102474. Again, at JSC102474. I tend to do well. This is more of a statement, I guess, than a question, really. But I tend to do well with bargain QBs, allowing me to go higher in other areas. I attribute this to the rules for offense. Agree? ? So, Adam, we've talked about this a lot. Going cheaper at QBs, a strategy you prefer on DraftKings. Do you attribute it to the changes in offense over the past few years and quarterbacks having much higher, we'll say, floors or base points, whatever phrase you want to use?
Sorry.
I know it was a good question, and I appreciate the applause. I nailed it. I'm going to do a victory dance in a little bit.
Sorry. My daughters get really excited sometimes.
Is there like a big Deshaun Jackson sweat or something going on?
There is a couple of people on Deshaun Jackson, and we can actually bring in that guest now. And we go to Robert Feldman. He is from East Greenbush, New York. He is currently sweating out Deshaun Jackson as he moves up to 41st in the $1 million play action He has Deshaun Jackson at 3.2% owned. Rob, it sounds like you're doing pretty well. How are you this evening?
Not bad. Just sweating it out here with some of my friends.
I assume you have about 50 to 60 people there.
Nope, we got 2 right now.
2. All right. Well, they are a vocal minority, so I appreciate that. 41st place, 260.32 points. Run down your roster here for everybody watching. Mariota, Allen, David Johnson, Antonio Brown, Deshaun Jackson, Allen Robinson, Delaney Walker, D'Angelo Williams, and the Broncos defense. So the Broncos D coming up big for you there against San Diego, putting up 23 points. But you went cheap at running back with Allen and Johnson. You have Mariota at 3.7% owned. How'd you go about constructing this lineup? Was it one of multiple entries, or was this one single bullet that you entered in this contest?
No, I actually did 3, but I always usually go lower running backs. A lot of injuries is what I look for, so I took Buck Allen and was looking at Johnson.
Yeah, David Johnson at 28.8% represents a good deal of chalk this week, but served his purpose in your lineup, giving you some flexibility to pay up at wide receiver. You got Antonio Brown in the lineup, Allen Robinson, and then you went with D'Angelo Williams out of the flex. Did you just see a disparity in those two teams in Pittsburgh and Indianapolis and expect big points out of the Steelers?
Yeah, I just thought they were just going to throw and run all night, so I figured Indy would put up a couple points to keep Ben throwing all night.
And are you a proponent of the quarterback tight end stack as opposed to necessarily a wide receiver quarterback due to the relationship it seems that Mariota and Delaney Walker are starting to build down there in Tennessee?
Yeah, I saw a lot of double tight ends, so I just started working that a lot. I haven't used that this week, but that's what I've been looking a lot towards.
So, Rob, how long have you been playing on DraftKings?
About a year. So I'm hoping maybe if I hit this 100,000 that win a couple bucks back.
Sounds like would be a good evening for you. You're up in 41st place, looking for Kirk Cousins to find Deshaun Jackson a few more times. If that were to be, obviously, beyond winning a couple of bucks back here, what would a first place finish in a tournament like this mean for you on Monday Night Football here in Week 13?
Oh, this would be huge. I just bought a house and I'm getting married in August, so pay off a couple bills.
Just a few. No debt incurred there at all between a wedding and a new house. They are both big investments in both time and money. So I appreciate you coming on tonight. So you said you had a couple of friends there, former roommates, college. Where are these guys from?
They're from Albany as well. I got my buddy Austin right here. How we doing, sir? Got my cousin Andrew right here. Just drinking a couple beers, trying to sweat it all out here.
And your future wife, is she present or is she currently out of the house?
She's right here.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your upcoming nuptials. We are very happy for you guys. But more so, what does she think of you playing daily fantasy? And is she ready for the potential of the winnings here tonight?
She was not a huge fan of me on this, but I think after tonight, I'm hoping she'll let me play a couple more times.
Does look like Kirk Cousins starting to air it out a bit more. Did try to force a pass a little while back to Jordan Reed, but found Deshaun Jackson. You may have heard these guys erupt with a little bit of a cheer in the background there as we were waiting. So, Rob, typically we ask where people got their usernames from. I think for you, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Were you a season-long guy who got drawn into daily fantasy, or were you somebody outside of fantasy altogether who started playing on DraftKings?
I was outside, and I just got brought in. A couple of my buddies got me hooked, so I haven't stopped since. And
week over week, you said you usually have 3 or so lineups. Do you find it easier or harder to build multiple lineups?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I don't understand why you didn't hear that one. I don't know what's going on there. When you're building lineups, do you find it harder to do multiple lineup entry or easier? Meaning, do you try to find a couple of different cores to build around, or one core that you're building multiple lineups from?
I usually just build one core and build a couple around it.
Well, Rob, we hope we can talk to you again later on. And find some more cheers for you guys. Obviously, on a PPR site, you're looking for targets for Deshaun Jackson and completions. A touchdown would not hurt either in this situation. The Redskins are in the 2-minute drill here, trying to get some points before halftime. Not the most exciting Monday Night Football game from a scoring perspective, but I think you found a little bit of excitement to hold on to here as you watch this contest. You're up to 31st place. So the sweat is real for you. We will check back in in a little bit, and best of luck the rest of the way tonight.
Thanks a lot. Hopefully talk to you soon.
We will check back in with Robert Feldman in a little bit out of East Greenbush, New York. He has Deshaun Jackson, the 1 million play action, currently sitting in 31st place. He is vying for that 100K first place as of right now. He is up to 31st. And that puts him at about $750 on the night. But a big change could come if you get Deshaun Jackson into the end zone here as resetting this leaderboard. We have 278 points in first place, and Rob is about 16 points back. So a lot of work to be done to get all the way up to first. But as he said, with a house purchase, a wedding in the not-so-distant future, as he climbs this leaderboard, ladders up with Deshaun Jackson, all of those zeros change at the end and can make for a life-changing night here on DK TV on the DraftKings Sweat Show. Bring back in Adam Levitan and David Kitchen to talk about this drive from the Redskins. Adam, it seems like with the 2-minute drill, you're seeing a little bit more poise and quick release here from Kirk Cousins, not looking to analyze it on the fly. But can you at least see in Cousins some makings of a good quarterback moving forward, or is he just too erratic in the pocket to be a long-term NFL quarterback?
Yeah, I actually think Kirk Cousins is okay. He's not going to be a top 10 quarterback ever, but I don't think he's in the bottom 10 either. I mean, we've seen him put up 300, 400-yard games at times over the last couple of years, and a lot of guys that start in the NFL just aren't capable of that period. So I give him some credit there. But yeah, just in terms of tonight, I mean, we see it every week. Fourth quarters are super high scoring, and the last 2 minutes of the first half are super high scoring. It just turns into when teams kind of go no huddle and defenses go prevent, just everything seems to change.
Another reception there for Deshaun Jackson. So cheers erupt again in East Greenbush, New York, I am sure, as we see Greg Hardy, it looks like, limping off the field for the Cowboys. Their defensive line would take another hit there and a flag. So 52 seconds left here in the first half. Dallas up 3-0 on Washington with the Redskins driving down the field. Another Twitter question for you guys, and we've talked about this at length at times, but it is something that bears repeating from a strategy perspective. Seems like chalk paid big time for this week's Millionaire Maker. Is that an anomaly? Now, Adam, week over week depends on ownership percentages. We talked about it before. We talked about the fact that you can't really compare week over week necessarily in daily fantasy. The results vary widely. But this question from @80_JRod. Is it an anomaly this week, or did the stars align correctly this week? And this is more what we should expect out of these large-scale tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, this week, all the chalk, quote-unquote, hit, but the previous 2 weeks, the chalk was atrocious, and you needed to have a super contrarian lineup to have a chance. So, yeah, it's just whatever week, you just have to be on what hits most weeks. I like to be contrarian in tournaments because I think it's easier to get to the top of the field when unexpected things happen than it is when expected things happen. But, there's no right or wrong strategy when it comes to that.
David, does ownership percentages matter more in GPPs or cash games?
Cash games.
Can you expand?
I can, and I shall.
I appreciate that.
I think as far as ownership percentages with cash games, it is something that you look for just like a general consensus, and you do want to be chalk. We talk about chalk. Well, there's a reason why it is chalk, is because players have good matchups and are at a good price point against people. So as far as like what matters most with ownership percentages, I think cash games do for sure, because when you start talking, if you're talking about like contrarian, of course the GPP is going to be like where you want to look at low ownership guys, but high ownership, I think is all about the chalky plays.
We will have another trivia question coming up, and that will be for a $100 DraftKings ticket. That's a $100 DraftKings ticket on DraftKings.com. Of course, you're watching the DK Sweat Show as we head towards halftime in this Redskins-Cowboys game. Hopkins on for the field goal attempt here for Washington as there are 2 seconds left on the game clock. Looks like it may be a 43 or 45-yard attempt. The final question for the $100 ticket. What is the username of the DK Millie Maker winner that we had on the DK Sweat Show that famously exclaimed, "No more fake watches," after he won? Again, what is the DK username of the Millie Maker winner that we had on the Sweat Show here, who famously exclaimed, quote, "No more fake watches," end quote, after he won? Hashtag DKDV to enter via Twitter. That'll be a good follow-up interview someday.
I know this answer.
I know you do. I'm aware as well. Adam seems to be contemplating this one as he thinks through it. We'll keep that out there for a bit. Hashtag DKTV for your answers. Now, David was there. I was there. It was my first week here in the, well, I'll leave that for a clue in a moment. But nonetheless, we head towards halftime of this wonderful Monday Night Football game. Score tied up 3-3. Hopkins with the 45-yard field goal there to knot this game at 3. And we keep an eye on the $1 million play action, the Millionaire Maker. And you did have the Redskins pick up another sack. So they're at second place, C-Web 30 at 273, spot 58, 2.9 points out. Gentlemen, as we move towards halftime, we'll give the clue here after I read the question one more time. What is the username of the DK Millie Maker winner that we had on the DK Sweat Show that famously exclaimed, quote, "No more fake watches," end quote, after he won? Clue was week 8 of the Millionaire Maker, week 8 of the NFL season here on the DK Sweat Show. That was when he was on and exclaimed about no more fake watches, and may have damaged said watch after the fact therein. And then don't forget, hashtag DKTV to enter the contest here on Twitter. Thanks for everybody who participated. We do have Guess Who coming up in a little bit. We'll have Read Between the Lines as well. And we will continue talking to contestants here on DraftKings.com throughout the night as we move forward in this 3-3 contest. Hey, at least it's tied. At least we have, something to look forward to.
Sure.
Positive thinking, Coach K. That's what I'm
Yep.
sure you told your team. Keep the eye on the prize. Keep moving forward. Move the ball. Move without the ball.
Hey, this is much more than the scoreboard. This is where we learn life lessons this next half.
Everybody put their hands in the middle. Team on 3. Now, Adam, we're going to let you go in a moment. We'll bring in Andrew Wiggins. As we get down to the end of the season, are you keeping your eye most on injuries, on depth chart changes? What is the thing that when you wake up Monday morning, you start looking at the results and doing your deep tweets that you send out of results and your recaps, and then looking at the leverage as you come in on Friday? What do you focus most on as sort of an indicator of weeks to come?
Yeah, I don't think much really changes. I think keeping an eye on the weather is something that's more important as we get down towards the end of the season. But even at the beginning of the year, there's injuries, and knowing who's going to capitalize on those injuries is always going to be one of the most important things. So yeah, and some of these like quote unquote bad games, like we saw Jacksonville, Tennessee yesterday, just go completely wild. So like, I'm certainly not only looking at teams that are in playoff contention, because a lot of times these teams that are out of it have really bad defenses and are out of it for a reason. And when offenses start playing loose, you can see real eruptions like we saw yesterday from Tennessee and Jacksonville.
The winner of the $100 ticket is X Go Bucks at X Go Bucks on Twitter. And David, the winner of Week 8, the Millionaire Maker was
G-Val style, baby.
That was Gustavius, right? Gus, Gustavius. I'm sorry, the umlaut over the U there. I must have missed. As we move forward tonight, Adam, as always, great stuff from you. We look forward to the DFS Edge podcast. Apparently, your listeners are doing quite well in playing you in that contest, so we'll keep that turning as well. Leviton's leverage as well comes out on the playbook throughout the week.
Levitan.
Did I do that too?
You and everybody else, and I'm on the crusade to stop.
Usually, I say Do I say Levitan or do I say Leviton? No, you can correct me here, Adam. Let's be.
No, it happens so often. I don't even correct.
Oh no, you need.
And that's what he did to me too. But people need to know Adam is not a fancy person. It's not Leviton. It's just Levitan.
Adam Levitan. As always, you can find him on Twitter at Adam Levitan. So that works out quite well. Adam, thanks for joining us here on Week 13 Sweat Show. We'll see you next week. We'll see you on the preview show and throughout the playbook and the podcast.
All right. See you later.
So Adam joining us with some great insight. David, you're going to stick with us. We're going to bring in Andrew Wiggins in a little bit here to discuss the first half of this game, Week 13 results, and look forward to Week 14 as well. And I'm sure we can get his take on the crazy pre-lock tonight or pre-7 p.m. tip-off for the NBA, where there were a ton of injuries and a ton of updates right before lock. So we'll talk to Andrew Wiggins in a little bit. Now, David, as we head towards halftime, we will keep you guys updated on the games we have coming up. Guess who, as I mentioned, read between the lines as well. When you see the value that we had week over week, and looking at Sunday only, you had the likes of the Eagles defense, you had James White, Bilal Powell, Dorial Green-Beckham. Is this things that we can get lost in from a results standpoint, where we try to figure out who's going to be that next guy next week and maybe chase points from some of these guys, chase the Bilal Powell's, hope that he has another game where he's featured for some reason out of the backfield?
No, I think it's something that you need to keep up with. It's kind of like basketball with rotations, football, the same thing as far as target share, and seeing, third down backs, third down situations, situational plays. I think it's something you need to keep up with in order to kind of target those guys going and then look at your matchups for the following weeks. So I don't think it's pointless at all to kind of try to predict, especially in tournaments, some of these lower owned guys that are going to go off.
We have plenty left to sweat here on the DK Sweat Show tonight here on DraftKings TV. We'll check back in with Rob. We'll check back in with Jared, and we have some more guests lined up. But first, we're going to take a break here and toss it over to Adam Kaufman from 98.5 The Sports Hub here in Boston, a CBS NFL analyst as well. Adam has his take on Week 13.
Another great week of football behind us, and what is most interesting, I think anyway, is the top of the AFC playoff picture. That top tier, you have three teams, Bengals, Broncos, and Patriots, all at 10-2. Who would have thought New England, the only AFC team to go 10-0 to start off the year, would now be sitting on 2 straight losses? This team doesn't lose 2 games in a row. This is the first time this has happened since 2012. You know how many NFL teams have lost consecutive games this year, or at least how many times an NFL team has lost consecutive games this season? Not even at the close of Week 13 yet. 92. 92 times it's happened. It has happened once for Patriots fans since 2012. I think Patriots fans probably have a right, I guess, to be spoiled or entitled. But nevertheless, losing to the Eagles is embarrassing. And in doing so, I think the Eagles probably saved Chip Kelly his job. The New Hampshire native coming into Foxborough, a giant victory after 3 straight losses. 2 games coming into that one where they had allowed the defense 45 points in each of those previous 2 contests. I mean, just terrible. But nevertheless, his team didn't quit on him. They went out there, they played a good, hard-fought game. You could argue the Patriots certainly did them some favors, but nevertheless, Philadelphia is in a position where even at 5 wins right now, you can't help but look around and be willing to maybe make a couple of exceptions if you're ownership, because the Eagles, under Chip Kelly, first 2 years, 10 wins each of those 2 years. Now this year, sitting at 5, 4 games to go. We don't know, obviously, at this point how it's going to finish out, but they could be a playoff team. We could right now be talking about a playoff team in Philadelphia because of how bad that division is. The Redskins play tonight. The Giants already lost and blowing it against the Jets. If the Redskins lose tonight, that's 3 teams, each with 5 wins, tied for first in the NFC East. That is incredible. It's laughable. It's terrible. But nevertheless, Kelly could be safe, if not just for the remainder of this season, heading into next year as well. Is there anything Cam Newton can't do for the Panthers? I told you last week I believe this guy is the NFL's MVP. He only, to me, further solidified his case yesterday, especially with a down day for Tom Brady with those 2 interceptions, despite the 3 touchdowns and a 36-yard receiving grab as well, something you don't see often. But Cam Newton, multiple times leading his team back against the Saints in that 3-point win, 41-38. In the fourth quarter, they were down, and he keeps coming back and coming back. Great drives after scoring drives for New Orleans. Some numbers here that have been floating around today. Cam Newton, fourth quarter and overtime this year, 6-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, 11 rushing first downs, about 9 yards per passing attempt, and a total QBR of 89. That is first in the NFL, and all of those categories, by the way, top 3 in the NFL. He doesn't wilt under pressure, again, coming back while the defense is failing in front of him over and over and over again as he has to watch from the sidelines. He says, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. And he went out there and did so, and in very clearly dramatic, exciting fashion, all the while missing some time being tested for a concussion. He goes for about 400 total yards, 5 touchdown passes, doesn't run for any, and didn't even play the entire game because of having to be evaluated for the blow to the head. So, remarkable. Again, this guy, MVP to me. And by the way, 15-3 Cam Newton in the month of December. So anyone thinking about 16-0 for the 12-0 Panthers, entirely realistic coming up, I would say, for Carolina. Here come the Seahawks, the 2-time defending NFC champions. They started slow. They did it last year, but they've come back with a vengeance. 3 straight wins in 5 out of 6. Russell Wilson is playing as well as he has all year. The defense against the Vikings in that win only allowing 125 total yards to Minnesota. Great effort there against a good Vikings team, one competing obviously for a playoff spot and a division crown with the Packers this year. Seahawks, they just seem to find a way between Wilson and obviously Pete Carroll and all the different players on that team. They find a way to get it together late in the year, and they are looking like a viable playoff threat. Right now, they would be the 6th seed in the NFC, and I think you have to believe in the Seahawks because experience. Once you get there, and this team, it looks like it's going to get there, it's hard not to buy in. When Russell Wilson is on, he's on. Lastly, we got to talk about that Steelers game quickly yesterday. Antonio Brown, the kind of crazy celebration, catches the touchdown and runs right into the goalpost, hops on, and immediately falls off onto his back. Fortunately, we're all able to laugh about it, him included. He didn't stick the landing exactly because he didn't get hurt when he fell right on his back. That could have been catastrophic for the Steelers and for him as well. But that's not my gripe. My gripe with is do what you want to do if you're Antonio Brown. He got an unsportsmanlike penalty flag against him. Can't we just have some fun anymore? I mean, the dancing is nice, and I like seeing a guy do the Carlton yesterday, but I miss pom-poms. I miss the cell phone from Joe Horn. I miss the Sharpie. Yeah, get creative out there. I don't want to see the flags. I don't want to see the penalties, the fines, all of it. Let's keep this stuff going. It should be exciting, right? I mean, that's the reason that extra points were moved back for more competitive plays. Well, how about more exciting moments like celebrations in the end zone? I don't think we can have enough of those. And as for the Steelers team, well, huge win. I don't know how the Colts are still leading that division.
Welcome back to the DK Sweat Show here on DraftKings TV. Dan Strafford with you from Boston as we sweat through this Dallas-Washington game, and I assume Jerry Jones is sweating a bit too. 3-3 the score in this contest as we start the third quarter. We welcome in Andrew Wiggins. Andrew, I'm sure you are glued to this contest tonight, but there's plenty still to sweat with Deshaun Jackson and the Washington Redskins defense still going here, and both are viable here in the second half. How are you tonight, Andrew?
Good. I enjoy the optimistic take there about the potential conclusion of this game, because I'm not sure I share your opinion on that. It's looking pretty bad. I'm not sure it's going to get any better.
I am somebody who is realistic but yet optimistic. So I'm hoping that things look up. And we do have, from the defensive perspective, we have the Redskins defense, and we do have the opportunity for Deshaun Jackson to get some loud screams out of East Greenbush, New York, as we heard earlier, as they are trying to will their friend Rob to a first-place finish in the $1 million kickoff game. Now, Andrew, looking back through Week 13 of the NFL season, we had a number of big scores, a very high-scoring week across the board. What stood out to you? What were you tracking? And from your lineup construction and looking back to the preview show on Thursday, what things turned out the way you expected them to, and maybe what were some of the surprises from Week 13 for you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought a lot of it played out like I thought. Cam and Big Ben were the quarterbacks I was heavy on this week. As far as the receivers, I ended up favoring Julio a little bit over Antonio. And not that I didn't play Antonio, but in hindsight, I think that was probably a bit of a mistake. I was thinking that they'd get back to maybe what they were doing earlier in the year with Julio, where they were just forcing him the ball, a lot of those short passes, and just kind of giving him an opportunity to go to work. And it didn't really happen. But really the biggest problem with that was the Atlanta offense has been just a mess for weeks now. And when you watch the Steelers with Big Ben out there, it's a machine. So even though Antonio had a tougher matchup, I think that the fact that their offense is just clicking on all cylinders should have trumped pretty much anything. So, yeah, that was kind of like the one thing that I'm a little bit annoyed about. But it's been a good week, so I'm pretty pleased. Finally, I can have a relaxing Monday night instead of, especially with not many people going tonight. Don't have to worry about losing a bunch of money here.
We're waiting for ruling on the field as the Redskins claim they forced a fumble, and we'll wait to see whether or not that is the case. If it is, it would be another fumble recovery and some more points for C-Web 30, who is chasing here at first place by 3 points in the Millionaire Maker. So we'll keep an eye on that. It would be McFadden's second fumble of the game, I believe. So we will keep an eye on that. We bring back in David Kitchen as well as we talk here through the second half of this contest. We'll play a little read between the lines a little bit as we move forward. And if you guys want to play along in chat, feel free to do so. We will continue to do so here. So another question for you, Andrew, as you look through the other quarterbacks from this week, you mentioned you were on Cam, you were on Ben Roethlisberger, but you have Bortles, you had Mariota, both doing solid work in their contest against each other. Some people stayed away from that game thinking it wasn't a great contest. Do you see those two as maybe the up and coming as those guys in daily fantasy who are still cheaper priced but may give you higher ceilings moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, Marcus in particular has shown that he has a really high ceiling. I was talking about him on the breakdown show, and I'd said maybe he'll start running a little bit more. And I remember Dave saying, I don't know about that. And so happened to bust off a 90-yard touchdown. So
what are you doing? What are you doing, Andrew?
He's coming in hot. He's coming in hot is what Andrew's doing. Yeah.
I said that he could run more. I said that it was
you said, I don't know if I believe you, Andrew. And then you started asking Levitan. I call him Levitons a lot too. It's tough.
Everyone calls him Levitan. He's not a
guy. I don't know why that is. Just remember, tan. He's not tan at all, so it's the opposite. But that's what I think of. Anyway,
is that really what you think of? Is that how you remember that?
I do. Yeah. Especially like the lighting when he's on the show. I mean, I can't talk. I'm as pale as they come, but we got some pale guys holding.
I think collectively we all need a tan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I reflect the sun. So
anyway,
that's fine.
If you had tuned into the breakdown show, you would have been tipped off on Marcus Mariota being a great tournament play. So hopefully you watched and you employed that strategy.
Yep. And I think you agreed with it too when I said it.
Yeah, the good thing is it's on YouTube, so we can go watch it.
I'm sure you already have multiple times. Fella.
Bro, he has it queued up. He has the link to himself. But Andrew, Scott Chandler was a fairly popular pick because of his price tag and believing that Tom Brady had to throw somebody the ball. He did come through with a touchdown to give you enough points, but it wasn't that he really blew the barn doors off of the contest, just gave you enough at the price tag to come through as a good play. What do you make of New England moving forward? Do you make this as a question mark now for Tom Brady? Or do you see that Tom Brady's just such a good option at quarterback from an NFL perspective that he'll continue to find whoever they throw out there at wide receiver?
Yeah, so one of the things that I found really fishy going into the week was looking at the line on that game. It was around 8.5, which I thought was too low. I would have thought it'd be a double, the Patriots would be double-digit favorites at home. And then as we got closer to kickoff, it actually moved in favor of Philadelphia and it ended up closing as a 7-point spread. And sometimes when you see stuff like that, you just kind of – you're left scratching your head a little bit. And so I wasn't completely shocked when it played out like it did. But, if I were picking a line or if I had been betting money on it, I would have definitely taken the Patriots. So smarter people than me had a better idea what was going on. But, yeah, I think you have to be concerned about their offense. They're missing so many pieces. We don't know when Gronk's going to come back, but he's a big deal. Not only as a pass catcher, but as a blocker. He really can kind of sets the rhythm for a lot of what happens in that offense. So I think they're missing him a ton. And, Edelman's a great receiver. Amendola is fine, but he's not as good as Edelman. And of course, Lewis that they lost weeks back. Like he was a big part of the explosiveness of their offense early in the season. So they've just lost so many pieces. I'd be a little concerned about them going forward, but I do think they'll continue to score.
We'll play some read between the lines in a few moments here. One more question for you, Andrew. What do you make of C.J. Anderson, the injury, and then Ronnie Hillman? It seemed like the Broncos were finally getting this running game going, and then Anderson goes down. Hillman was really not that exciting in filling in for Anderson there in the second half. Do you see him as a viable option in the Broncos backfield, or was C.J. Anderson finally ramping back up to speed, and maybe we need to take a step back of thinking that Kubiak can plug and play at the running back position?
You got to be a little careful. I haven't looked closely at that box score, but they brought in Juwan Howard, right? Or what is that his name? Juwan something or another. They brought him in for a number of touches, I know. So it didn't look like going to give Hillman, they don't really view him as a workhorse type back. So I wouldn't expect that even if Jameis's time. So it's probably a situation to avoid. And hopefully CJ gets healthy and comes back, because I thought he was starting to get into a spot where maybe he would be productive down the stretch, kind of like he was last year. But now that's a clear setback this week.
Jawan Thompson, the running back in Denver, who got a few touches.
Juwan Howard's like the 45-year-old NBA player from Michigan.
We know where the
I didn't think that sounded right, but I knew the Juwan part, and from there I was guessing.
Now, Andrew, I do want to ask before we get to this game, how was pre-7 o'clock for you tonight? Lots of NBA news.
Yeah, so there was a lot of news today, but it wasn't so much right at the tip. Like pretty much all of it was out half an hour before, and it was kind of a different slate tonight in that all the games started within an hour of the first game. So it wasn't maybe as crazy as it would have seemed with all the news breaking, but I'm fighting for the last place in the All-Star right now. I think I might have the worst team I've ever fielded on DraftKings. I'm not even going to get to 200. I'm at 166 points with 11 minutes remaining. So holy smokes. Pretty bad outing by me.
Low ball winner.
I'm glad we have something in common there, Andrew. So that works out well. We're going to play a little read between the lines, guys. So we need a piece of paper, a pen. You're going to write down your answer. David.
Okay, hold on. I just broke my Draft Street pen. I freaking broke it. Hold on.
This is tough times for David Kitchen. He is going to be in mourning over that pen for a long time.
The good news is I've got like 12 more of them.
I assumed you did. I assumed that was...
Just showing you how often I use this notebook. The only thing I've ever used it for. I took some notes for one of our shows. But other than that,
same here.
I thought you were going to turn over some passwords or something there all of a sudden and realize they were being broadcast here on DKTV. But David, you are a 2-week defending champion here. Andrew did beat Adam 2 weeks in a row to start off this contest.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. Adam's favorite game growing up was Scrabble.
It does say a lot about him.
And his family let him count misspelled words just because he tried.
Just because your family let you win doesn't mean other families let their own kin win.
Okay.
All right. I assume you're right, but we can't make that assumption. So let's play some read between the lines here with David and Andrew. We are ready to get underway here. Our first one is 1 receiving TD, 107 receiving yards, 63 rushing yards, 12 receptions overall, and the 100 yards receiving bonus, 38 DraftKings points. 1 receiving TD, 107 receiving yards, 63 rush yards, 12 receptions, and the 100-yard receiving bonus, 38 DraftKings points. We'll go to the defending champion, David Kitchen, Coach K first, and his answer is a white piece of paper. Give me your answer, Dave. I can't read it.
Read that.
Buck Allen.
Buck Allen is correct. Andrew, who did you have?
I had a question mark. That was a heck of a line by Buck Allen. I didn't know he did that well.
He did put up some big stats there out of the backfield. So 1 point for Mr. Kitchen. We move on to our next one, and it's 1 receiving touchdown, 131 receiving yards, 12 receptions, a 100-yard receiving bonus, 34.1 DraftKings points. 1 receiving touchdown, 131 receiving yards, 12 receptions, the 100-yard receiving bonus, and 34.1 DraftKings points. And Andrew, for your education here, I did say earlier I focused on the top 40 Millionaire Maker teams. So you can see sort of the grouping of players that may have made up the top 40 there. David seems a bit incredulous that will help Andrew, but that is fine. I felt it only kind to fill him in with the same piece of information. So, Andrew, you're up first. 5, 4. Do we have another question mark?
Yeah. I'm drinking from the fountain of Levitan over here.
At least you got it. At least you got his name right.
David, your answer is?
I don't know, other than Brandon Marshall, maybe.
That would be the correct answer.
That's it. Bingo.
2-0. David,
I was trying to. Everybody I had in mind had 2 touchdowns.
That's same with me. I knew I didn't have the right answer.
On to question number 3, or line number 3, I should say. 134 rushing yards, the 100-yard rushing bonus, and then 1 fumble, 31 receiving yards on 5 receptions, 23.5 DraftKings points.
All right, repeat it again.
134 rushing yards, the 100-yard rush bonus, 1 fumble, 31 receiving yards on 5 receptions, 23.5 DraftKings points. David, your answer in
Rawls?
3, 2, 1. Rawls is incorrect.
Oh,
Andrew?
Touchdown. I know that. I don't think this is right either, but D'Angelo?
You are correct. Andrew is on the board here in round number 3. We move on to question 4. We have ourselves a contest here. 1 receiving touchdown, 21 receiving yards, 99 rush yards on 2 receptions, and 20 DraftKings points. 1 receiving touchdown. Sorry, let me read this one again. 1 receiving touchdown, 21 receiving yards. It's the same one. It's the same one.
Don't give him any more hints.
No, I just need to hear the question.
1 receiving touchdown, 21 receiving yards, 99 rush yards, 2 receptions overall, 20 DraftKings points.
Okay, so I got this.
Okay. Answer from you, Andrew, first.
I had it if we didn't give him those hints. DJ, yeah.
What hint did I give there? Did I give a hint?
You said it first, 99 receiving yards.
Yes,
I was like, I know.
I screwed up.
Okay.
And I admit that. Remember? Admit when you're wrong. At least that's what my wife tells me.
You're always wrong. It's the correct.
Rule number 1, you're always wrong. Rule number 2, when you think you're right, refer to rule number 1. You know what I'm saying?
We go to the last one. We're going to go to a guest in a moment here on the DK Sweat Show. Last question here for this read between the lines. 1 receiving touchdown, 146 receiving yards, 8 receptions, and the 100-yard receiving bonus, 31.6 DraftKings points. 1 receiving touchdown, 146 receiving yards, 8 receptions, and 100 receiving, the 100-yard receiving bonus, for 31.6 DraftKings points. David, you have your answer. What do you have there?
Dick Rogers.
Andrew, what's your answer?
Yeah, you got it right. I have Odell Beckham, but
David, you defend your championship for another week. You got 4 correct out of 5. Well done. Maybe we play a little bit more later on. I have 5 more. We'll see where this 6-3 Redskins Cowboys games go from here. But we're going to go to our next guest, and that is Mackey K8, Kevin Mackey, sitting in first place in the 500K kickoff special, currently in line to take home $50,000. Kevin, how are you on this Monday night?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. As talk about a lot here, I get to sit here and talk about daily fantasy sports. Not a bad situation. Get to talk to people about winning large sums of money. Also not a bad situation. So tonight you are sitting with no PMR, watching this riveting 6-3 Dallas Cowboys Washington Redskins game. Looks like in 7th place, 10 points back. You have somebody who is chasing with the Redskins defense. So you need a big turnaround there of 10 points from the Redskins D to make that happen. Walk me through, if you can, lineup construction here. You had Ben, Buck Allen, David Johnson, AJ Green, Jeremy Maclin, Allen Robinson, Scott Chandler, Antonio Brown, and the Bengals. Were you focused most on cheap running backs to be able to pay up at wide receiver, or is this a lineup that fell into place as you were constructing it?
I basically went with the cheaper running backs because wide receivers tend to get more points in general. So I went with David Johnson and Javaris Allen first because they were pretty cheap, and then went for the defense because they're cheaper. And Scott Chandler was, I think, 2,500, so he was a good choice too.
So you had Scott Chandler pick up the TD, 4 receptions, 61 receiving yards. He was 20% owned. You had 2 players under 10% owned, Allen Robinson and Javaris Allen. So you did pick up some contrarian points there, getting under-owned players in this contest. But sitting right now, you are sweating out the end of the contest with $50,000 on the line. In this situation before on DraftKings with a large sum of money in a tournament on the line come Monday night?
No, I can't say I have.
How long have you been playing on DraftKings?
This is probably my 6th or 7th week.
And who do you have with you there tonight?
Wow, this is my roommate, and this is another friend here, and there's probably about 6 other people in the room here.
So for yourself, you're surrounded by a lot of people. Are you somebody who gets together with friends to watch Monday Night Football, or was this, hey guys, I have a pretty big thing going on. Why don't you come on by and watch the game with me?
A little bit of both, but we always get people together to watch football. So
how rough has it been watching this Monday Night Football game as you wait for the conclusion? 6-3 the score here in the third quarter.
It's pretty brutal, pretty frustrating, but hanging in there as of now. So hoping it kind of stays around the same score now.
You're looking for 6-3 and the opportunity for no turnovers from Dallas to not give Washington any opportunity to move up, and you don't want to see any, I'm sure, Deshaun Jackson, which may be filtering down a little bit with the possibility for a big run here in the second half. You said 6 to 7 weeks on DraftKings. Were you a season-long guy who's been converted, or were you somebody who was drawn in via a different channel to DraftKings?
I was referred to it by a friend, so I just kind of started off with the $1 leagues, and then decided to try this one. I think it was a $5 league, and seemed to work out well.
What would $50,000 mean to you?
Well, I'm in college now, so that would help pay off a lot of loans. And
what are you studying?
I'm a biology major.
Nice.
Studying to be a veterinarian.
Nice. That is a tough track, so I'm sure 50K would ease the pain a bit, as you said, towards those loans as well, and as you move on to graduate school, which will continue to roll in that debt just a bit, but 50K in first place here would go a long way to helping you out there. Now, we wish you the best of luck. We're going to keep an eye on this one. Hopefully we can come back to you in a little bit. Enjoy the game. Hopefully the action doesn't pick up too much because that could affect your outcome here, but just enough to make it at least a game you enjoy watching here as this game continues on. We appreciate the time here on the DK Sweat Show, and we will check back in with you in a little bit.
All right, thanks.
That there was Kevin Mackey, and he is currently in first place in the 500K kickoff special. He's winning $50,000 as he sits with no PMR going. We've seen this a couple times over the past few weeks of just sitting, waiting for these results to end, hoping the game does not get out of hand. Then we've seen the fourth quarter sort of turn up for everything as we move forward. So we'll keep an eye on this one and see if these offenses can turn the page as we move forward. We'll bring back in Andrew Wiggins and David Kitchen to continue talking about Week 13 results and what we'll see as we move forward. Now, Andrew, we talked with Adam and David so far about this, the $3 Millionaire Maker now available in the lobby over on DraftKings.com. I asked them their strategy, if it changes at all with a larger scale entry pool, a lower scale price tag. Do you see any changes in your strategy or what you would tell other users to go about? Or is this very much still the same sort of tournament? It's large scale. It's going to take a lot of work to put together a lineup that can be up towards the top.
Yeah, I mean, you're already dealing with so many people in the regular setup that you kind of got to hit it perfect. And that is still going to be the case this weekend. Maybe you got to hit it a little bit more perfect. But no, I'm not going to change my strategy at all. When they have the tournament in a couple weeks, if you're lucky enough, to get a seat in the 1500, I think hopefully they're running some NBA qualifiers. That's how I'm going to try and get in. But that one, you'll maybe take a little bit of a different strategy because it'll be such a smaller field than what we're used to week to week. But when you're dealing with, tens of thousands, if not more, hundreds of thousands of players, you got to get a little off the board and you got to hope to get kind of lucky. So I think you take the same strategy that you've been using.
We keep on rolling here, 6-3 the score in this Monday night contest. And looking back over the week, we talked earlier about this as well. I want to get your take on it. As we look at Cam Newton and what he's done, we've talked many times here about paying down at quarterback, paying up. Where do you find the baseline that you're looking for? Do you see a more consistent daily fantasy play this year than Cam Newton in the NFL?
Well, I mean, Roethlisberger, when he's been healthy, has been pretty darn consistent. And one of the things about Cam that I don't love about him on DraftKings is that he usually doesn't throw for 300 yards. So sometimes you'll get that bonus, like you got it this week from him, but you don't usually get it. Whereas someone like Big Ben, I mean, you can just tack 3 points on to whatever projection you have. And then also with Ben, they go for 2 so often. I think people kind of discount that because it's thrown. I mean, it's half the value of a touchdown, and they go for 2 like 2 or 3 times a game. So Ben's been pretty darn steady. But Cam, I mean, with the rushing yards, seems like he's getting a rushing touchdown every week. I don't think he had one this week. He should have if he had put his head down. But he ended up throwing a touchdown then a couple of plays later. So we'll forgive him.
Don't get me started.
There it is.
Drew. Do not get me started.
There it is, as we bring back up the little bit of a hot dog, I guess we could say, that David discussed earlier with Adam Levitt.
Hot diggity dog is what it was.
And did not get into the end zone there. But Cam has had a great season, talked about him a couple of times tonight, and continues to push the Panthers towards an undefeated year. 12-0 is nothing to sneeze at and continues to do some great things, but to Andrew's point, he's not getting to those bonus levels necessarily as consistently.
Dancing way too much.
I like the dancing. Come on, you don't like the dancing?
No, okay, I like the dancing.
Yeah, you like the dancing.
He's a great
him
dancer.
The rushing touchdown was so tilting. Yes.
Yeah. I think that was just a bit of a brain fart by him. He thought he was going to get in. Clearly he didn't want to take the shot that he took. He just didn't see it coming, and not his smartest move. But he's been so good, and I think he's just a blast to watch. I really enjoy watching the guy, so I'm going to cut him some slack.
We saw yet again from Odell Beckham Jr. a big output against the Jets defense, but the majority of his output came on one play, a pass over the middle where the Jets just had blown coverage. Is he far and away? It's just targets for him, right? It's the opportunity week over week, whether he gets it on one play or on 12 receptions, whatever it may be. You need to take heed of these sort of Antonio Browns, AJ Greens, guys who are consistently getting targeted and getting the ball in the open field.
Well, I mean, he has been getting targeted heavily. I think he had 11 targets this week. The few weeks leading into it, Odell was looking at 15, 16, 17 targets. And the thing about him is nobody else in the NFL will break those long plays as much as he does. So, yeah, there was some broken coverage on that. But, I mean, how many times does he take a 10-yard slant and turn it into a 7-yard touchdown? Like, he's done it a bunch of times. So, I mean, part of it is the defense breaking down, but part of it is just how explosive he is. And I think, you don't want to expect that, but you're certainly not surprised when you see it. And that's just part of the package with him. So he's been playing really well. He finished last year super strong, and I'm going to hope to kind of ride him to the finish line here. I think he'll continue to put up big games.
Now, David, Andrew, Allen Robinson has had a fantastic season, put up some big stats. He is currently a top blank wide receiver. Where do you rank him for Allen Robinson? Where do you slot him in right now in today's NFL, and what you see for the rest of the season? He is top 5, top 10, top 20. David, for you first, where do you see Allen Robinson slotting in to the current landscape of wide receivers in the NFL?
Yeah, he's top 10, definitely. Top 5 is tough just because you've got those elite wide receivers. Even though Julio has struggled, you still have Julio paired with Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham and
probably AJ Green.
And there's one other one that I'm missing.
Alshon Jeffrey?
Nah,
that's just my Bears love. He's pretty good, but I'd take Robinson over Jeffrey.
So, yeah, those are the guys for top 5, but he's right outside the top 5. I mean, he's top 10, probably top 8 for me.
Sure. Brandon Marshall isn't quite at the level of those other guys, but he's also kind of quietly had a phenomenal season. But, yeah, I mean, I think Allen Robinson's knocking on the door at top 5, and if he was on maybe a bigger name team, he might get more – probably the respect he deserves. He's having a phenomenal year. It's cool, and he's a young guy, so I think he's got really good things ahead of him.
Between Bortles and Allen Robinson, 82.08 total DK points, a total price tag between the two of them of $13,300. So a good spend there on the stack between the quarterback and wide receiver. We go back to our guests here, and we go to Dan Knight, a.k.a. Hockey8812, currently sitting in 9th place in the 5-seat mega qualifier, has Darren McFadden. Dan, welcome to the DK Sweat Show right here on DraftKings TV. How are you doing this evening? So, Dan, here on the DK Sweat Show. So we'll check in with Dan in a moment and discuss with him his win on the college football live final this past weekend, as well as looking to qualify for the Mega Seat qualifier for the live final for the World Fantasy Football Championship out in San Diego, which is just a week away as we get ready to keep an eye on that contest. And as we've discussed many times here, that up next is a move from 200 down to 10 in January in the live final from LA. So things will continue to heat up as far as the live finals are concerned. We'll get back to Dan in a moment when we bring him back on, confirming he can hear us and we can hear him. You heard Adam earlier talk about Tyrod Taylor, and he continues to put up some big numbers for Buffalo. Both he and Shady McCoy have done a very good job for Buffalo. Hasn't turned it to wins quite yet, but Tyrod Taylor this past week was 5,200 on DraftKings, put up 29.24 DraftKings points, good for 5.62 fantasy points per $1,000. And part of the top 20 fantasy points per 1K on Sunday only on DraftKings. You had the Eagles defense with your top points there, $2,300 and 27 points, so 11.74 fantasy points per 1K. James White, Bilal Powell, Dorial Green-Beckham, and the Steelers defense rounding out your top 5. And then you get Mariota, Dolphins, D, Javarius Allen, Doug Baldwin, and Ted Ginn Jr. in your top 10. Broncos, Scott Chandler, Allen Robinson. So think about this. Allen Robinson at 7,300 checks in here in your top 15 of points per 1K salary because he put up 46.30 DraftKings points. Great value there, even at 7,300 from the wide receiver spot. And wide receiver was such a deep position this week. We go back to our guest, Hockey 8812, Dan Knight, as he joins us here on the DK Sweat Show, sitting in ninth place, waiting on Darren McFadden to get going here tonight. Welcome into the DK Sweat Show. How are you tonight, Dan?
All right, how's it going, fellas?
It's going quite well. Appreciate you coming on as you watch this contest here tonight. What have you seen out of Darren McFadden? A little bit of a case of the dropsies so far in tonight's contest.
Yeah, unfortunately, McFadden hasn't done much, and I'm also got people with Redskins defense all around me. So when he's fumbling, it's costing me double.
Yeah, so you're seeing both sides of the positive and the negative, or I guess the negative and the positive there, as the Cowboys line up for another field goal attempt. Is there a more riveting Monday Night Football contest than this one, Dan? 6-6 here with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Honestly, I'm a huge Redskins fan. We're from right outside of D.C., so this is kind of excruciating. I need Cowboys points, but I want Redskins wins so they can go to the playoffs. It's kind of a mess.
So take me, well, what was your weekend like, Dan? A normal weekend at home, not doing much, just hanging out, watching some TV?
Yeah, no, it was pretty much the opposite. It was a pretty insane weekend. A lot of crazy stuff going on at the DraftKings College World Finals this weekend. It was a good weekend.
Oh, right. That's what it was. So, Dan, for those not in the know here, Dan took down the $250K College Football Live Final first place. Congrats to you on that. What was that like? What was it like to be at a live final? What was it like to win a live final? And now to be back and back in the grind of it all, looking for another qualifier here.
The final was awesome. Thanks to DraftKings. Thanks for the congratulations. The final was fantastic. I can't tell you guys how great the experience is. Even I've been in one other live final in the NBA one, and I didn't win, and I still had an awesome time. To win it was just unbelievable. Like, it's one of those things you can't even put into words.
And I'm asking you to do so now, so that's got to be a little bit difficult as you deal with it.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No, but has it set in? Like, have you realized what has happened this past weekend?
A little bit, not really. I mean, clicking on my DraftKings account and seeing a lot of numbers up there sure feels good.
I hope to experience that one day, but for yourself right now, congratulations. And now you are already thrown back in. If McFadden can turn his luck around a little bit here to push you a little bit forward in this mega qualifier, top 5 win seeds out there in San Diego, you're right back in it. So you're right back in this live final chase. You've attended other live finals, have you not, via DraftKings?
Yeah, I was in the NBA one this past March, and that's the first one I was actually in. I got there through a couple tickets and won a couple qualifiers, and that's how I got in. I had a couple lineups. The one big thing that was different about this final was during the NBA final, I was in the top 5 all day until the last hour, and it was kind of painful watching the numbers drop the whole day, like falling off the top 10 was that's never fun. But I mean, I still had a great time. But this year, I got up near the top pretty early, and I can't tell you how many people were coming by and telling me congratulations and how I was doing so well. And I was just like, I was paranoid, like almost like to the point of like nervousness, didn't want to watch the games, and it got really close in the 8 o'clock games. But I tell you what, man, Christian McCaffrey, wherever he ends up, I will be buying a Christian McCaffrey jersey because that man carried me all the way.
He carried his offense as well most of the season. That's for certain. Now, Dan, were you already entered in the qualifier, or did winning beget entry here and push you towards this mega qualifier on Sunday?
So I actually was not entered in the qualifier. I've played a few of them, but I've not done so well. I haven't really came close. I think I got 7th place in one of the qualifier attempts, but that was one where only first place went. So my NFL season's honestly been all over the map. I started out hot, got extremely cold. I've been okay the last couple weeks. I was supposed to have a 8 a.m. flight Sunday morning. You can imagine after winning the final, that wasn't going to work. So so I ended up pushing my flight back, and I had some NFL lineups. I didn't have any entered in any of the major qualifiers, but I said, you know what, I'm here. I got a computer access. I might as well put them in and see how we do. And so far, it's looking good. I mean, that Antonio Brown punt return touchdown helped me, but also hurt me yesterday. It made me drop a couple spots, but we'll see.
It seems that's the case for a lot of people there, but I really don't know what you could mean by having a late night after winning the champion. I just don't have any idea what could have happened therein. But Dan, congrats on the big weekend. Best of luck here tonight. I do have to ask, what's your favorite sport to play in daily fantasy? Have you found one to be one you enjoy the most, and maybe is there one that you're more successful at than that?
NBA honestly is the one that I really enjoy and I've actually been very good at. I know my screen name is hockey and everybody asks me about it, but I get killed at hockey. Like it's a bloodbath when I play hockey. I've done very well at NBA, and I've also this year was actually the first year I played college football. I've only been playing on DraftKings for a couple years. So I originally started out real small, just doing NBA and NFL. And recently I got into college football, and it was kind of a learning curve, but I started doing well near the second half of the season. So that's been really nice. I got to say that's probably right up there with NBA for me. Those are definitely my two favorite sports.
2015 in review for college football. Target the Rutgers secondary, and you will do just fine. This coming from a Rutgers alum. Dan, thanks so much for the time. Congrats on the big weekend. We're going to stick with you and check back in a little bit if we get a little bit of movement from the Dallas backfield for you. And we appreciate the time, and we'll check back in a little bit.
All right, that sounds awesome. Thanks, man.
That is Dan Knight, a.k.a. Hockey8812, big winner from the college football live final this past weekend, looking to get into the live NFL final with the mega qualifier top 5 move on, sitting in 9th place, hoping that Darren McFadden gets his butt in gear just a bit here as has put the ball on the turf a couple of times. And as he said, not only is it a problem for him from a negative point perspective, but a lot of the guys chasing him and around him in that qualifier have the Redskins defense. So you will see the correlation there where all of a sudden he goes down, other guys go up. I guess down and up is the right way to do that. As the Redskins are trying to drive 6-6, the score, Dallas and Washington here with 1:32 to go in the third quarter. It does look like we are on a slow train to overtime here tonight as we look at this one slowly moving towards the fourth quarter. 6-6 the score. We bring back in Andrew Wiggins and David Kitchen to talk a little bit more about the world of the NFL. I know, David, you are rooting for overtime. It is what you love to see.
Yeah, no, if it goes to overtime, the camera will just like pan where I'm at, and you'll just see a spinning chair because I will be like out of it. But very cool story with Dan Knight. I got to talk to him at the Vegas Championship, and like he said, the first thing I realized, like at the Vegas Championship, it was hockey and NBA in the same week, and so I just assumed that he was in the hockey, but sure enough, he was in the NBA. And man, how much of a jerk did Andrew feel like just now with him talking about how his winnings were going down that last hour? Andrew was partly responsible for that.
Yeah, a little bit.
But now he won $250,000, so it's okay.
Freaking Goulet, man.
That was an intense, like the whole day was intense, because you had some Anthony Davis news that day. Of course, you had the end with Gallinari versus Crowder with Wiggins and Goulet. You also had who was it that got food poisoning? Randy Foye? I think it was Randy Foye. They got food poisoning, and since the lineup's locked, you had a guy that had a really good team. Is David? What was his last name?
Epstein.
That's what it is.
PW5126. Yeah, he.
Not that Andrew holds grudges or anything. Guys, that has the guy's name at the tip of his.
No, this guy. Well, he took 7th. He's a good guy. I've met him a couple times, but he took 7th, and he was like 20 points out of first, and he took a 0 from Foye, who Foye was actually a serviceable fantasy player last year, unlike this year.
Yeah.
So I think you could have penciled him for 20 points. And not only that, I ended up doing really well with Gallinari, who definitely got a boost from Foye not being out there. So
it would be. I always enjoy these stories of like the chain reactions, the domino effect, so to speak. So let's say that he does get he has a team currently in 6th, and he also has a team in 9th. But if the Dallas scores any more,
Right.
he'll be propelled back up into 5th with the Redskins D losing points. So it would be cool for him to this is the story of he wins the $250,000 and then he misses his flight. He enters a couple of contests with this money that he definitely. I mean, this is not a cheap qualifier that he's in. And then maybe something big happens in San Diego again for him. Like these are cool stories. And this is one of the reasons why I think the ESPN angle is cool because you're going to have lots of different stories to choose from with this. With some of the 200 entries in this thing.
200 entries, some contestants with multiple entries, but you see as we come down to the wire here for these qualifiers and what Dave's alluding to, I'm sure many of you guys watching know already, but you have the 200 going out to San Diego, then those top 10 move on to Los Angeles for the live final in January, and the points stay with them. So their points from the live final in December move on with them to January, and that'll be involved with ESPN, and you can continue strategy-wise and trying to figure out how to move up or stay where you are, depending on where you are in the standings in those top 10. We did get another Deshaun Jackson reception a little while ago, so we will keep an eye on the 1 million play action with former guest or guest earlier, Rob Feld, from the one who had the loud cheers in the background. We will now go to our next guest, and that is Rush Impact Auto. That is Jeremy Warner out of Charlotte, North Carolina, joins us now on the DK Sweat Show. Dan Strafford here in Boston. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're good. Thanks for dressing up for the occasion. I appreciate it. That's fantastic.
Part if you're winning some money, right?
Right. You got to dress the part, right? They say dress the part of the job you want. Making a lot of money is a job, right? So currently you sit in first place in a double qualifier. As you built your lineup this week, were you building multiple lineups? Were you focusing on just one? What was your strategy in constructing this lineup that is at the top right now?
I actually constructed multiple lineups. I did 10 lineups, and I accidentally got in this tournament by mistake. I went in to enter these lineups in the $1 million tournament and clicked in this tournament and got in here by mistake. And so be it. Here we are. We're in first place.
So as the fates would have, you are in first place, sitting with 252, spot 5-2. You are sweating out somebody a couple of spots back, but even there with the double qualifier, you are in a very good position as you await the end of this game with the Redskins defense trailing you right now, down 7 points, but second place doesn't have any PMR as well. So here you are with the potential for one contest, but instead in this one, and now a trip to San Diego and the opportunity to win big on the live final is in front of you. Have you been to any? Have you played these qualifiers before? You said it was a little bit of a stroke of luck entering this one. Have you entered the qualifiers, or is this something you typically stay away from?
No, this is the first time I've entered in a qualifier. I'm usually 50-50. 50% of the time playing tournaments, and then the other half I do double ups and head-to-heads.
So your bankroll is split half and half, trying to stay with the cash games with half and GPPs with the other. Makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people vary their percentages there, but try to keep track one way or another. How long have you been playing on DraftKings?
I've been playing on DraftKings for a little over a year now.
And were you a season-long convert or coming from a different angle of signing up for DraftKings from outside of fantasy football?
No, I've been playing fantasy sports in general for the last 12, 15 years. And then obviously seeing the commercials, things like that, finally got signed up with DraftKings and love this site, and I've stuck with it ever since.
What's your favorite sport? You said you've been playing fantasy sports. There's basketball. There's all of them. There's so much potential. What's been your favorite fantasy sports over the year?
My favorite is obviously football, but I do better in basketball, and I've had a little success in golf also.
All great sports. You have. Are you a year-round daily fantasy player, or do you find some off-season for yourself?
No, year round. I try to stay in it all year. Make sure that I'm up to speed with every single situation going on. Between golf, football, baseball, and basketball.
And Rush Impact Auto is your username. Where does that derive from?
I own a marketing company called Rush Impact Marketing, and we help facilitate automotive dealerships all across the United States with marketing, training, theft events, direct mail, things like that.
Heard some cheers.
Auto comes from.
Some cheers go up in the background there. Assume some coworkers, some co-owners. Who do you have in attendance with you there today?
I have 3 of my managers. We got Casey, Brian, and Lee. They're in here, help celebrating the victory here, hopefully.
And what would it mean to head out to San Diego? What could come of this stroke here of maybe a click where you didn't intend, but where it worked out? And what could be next with these 200 entries heading out to San Diego and then the live finals in LA thereafter? May have lost connection there. See if Jeremy comes back. Frozen there. Oh, Jeremy lost connection there. So what would this mean to get into this live final and have the potential for a big payday out there in San Diego and Los Angeles?
It's huge. It's huge. If you look at, you got 200 of the top players, that they had the opportunity to win it, a satellite to get into this tournament. You got Max Dullery, Condia, Chipotle Addict. So, you got some great players out there, and it's definitely going to be a great time and a great opportunity.
We appreciate the time tonight. We wish you the best luck. Looks like you are in a fairly good position in first place in this 2 times qualifier 172 and 173 as we head towards the last 2 weeks of qualifying and watching this Dallas Redskins game. Who do you root for? Are you who do you root for in the NFL?
I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan.
It's been a good season for the Bengals. Some good things working there. You have a former Rutgers product in Mohamed Sanu at wide receiver, so I appreciate that. You have some Croft at tight end as well. So you have the Scarlet Knight connection, which I appreciate for the Cincinnati Bengals as a Rutgers alum myself. But here you are, week 13. Looking like you're in a good position to qualify for the Fantasy Football World Championship out in San Diego. Best of luck the rest of the way. We'll check back in, and we will see you potentially out in San Diego.
Go Rush Impact, baby!
Thanks.
That was Jeremy Warner from a.k.a. Rush Impact Auto. You heard some of his friends there in the background cheering him on, and we appreciate that. We are ready to have our Guess Who contest here on DKTV, the DraftKings Sweat Show, every Monday night, starting with the kickoff of the Monday night contest. We are going to reveal pictures here on the show, and you will tweet at DraftKings. So at DraftKings, your guess using hashtag DKTV. The first person to correctly tweet us the first and the last name of the player wins a ticket. So again, you will see a photo come up on the stream here, and you will need to guess who that player is. It'll be a portion of a picture, and you will guess who it is, and we will then reveal who it is, and we will go from there. We have Andrew and David here on the line as well, and we will go through the reveal process as well. So whenever we're ready for picture number 1, there is picture 1. So again, it's at DraftKings. Use the hashtag DKTV to enter your guess as to who that is. The first person to correctly tweet us with the first and last name of that player wins a ticket. And we will wait for answers at hashtag DKTV. Then we will get guesses from Andrew and David as well before we will reveal. So again, hashtag DKTV. Tweeting at DraftKings, who is that player? First and last name, and on the line is a ticket to whoever is first to answer who that player is. We will reveal shortly. But first, the question to Andrew and David: who is that player?
And Bailey.
Andrew may have benefited from David's mic being down, but Andrew nailed it. It is, in fact, Dan Bailey. So we will see the reveal of the photo there. Dan Bailey trying his best to chase down punt returner there, but kick returner, sorry. But so we will reward a ticket therein. Andrew Wiggins 1, David Kitchen, and the mute button 0.
Yeah,
and,
that was so dirty. So freaking dirty because I said kicker Dan Bailey.
Oh, I couldn't read the lips because you put kicker in there. I wasn't ready for that. So
Well, I couldn't read your lips because I was busy moving my mouse to the unmute button so that I could talk.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
It
just got freaking real.
Just a step ahead.
Got freaking.
We have a winner, and the winner is at decisive_JMac. So picks up a ticket there. I believe we have 3 more here in this contest as we are in the fourth quarter, 12:07 to go, 9-6 the score. Washington on top of Dallas, a real kicker battle here in this contest. So we have image number 2 ready to go. Who is that player? Again, hashtag DKTV. You're tweeting at DraftKings with your answer. We'll give you a few moments to look at that image. I will admit I got this one fairly quickly, so I hope you do as well, gentlemen. So again, at DraftKings, hashtag DKTV. First person to answer correctly will pick up a ticket. As we wait for the correct answer, Andrew and David will be ready to answer once we have the high sign that someone has answered correctly. And we will then continue on. We keep an eye on this Redskins-Cowboys game as Cousins starts marching the Redskins down the field. Looked like a pass complete to Crowder there on the sideline on the rollout. And we have a correct answer on Twitter. So we go back to Andrew and David. I have muted Andrew, so we are on level playing field. David, who is that?
Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson is correct. We see the reveal here. And we talked about Allen Robinson a lot tonight. A big weekend for him, putting up 46.3 DraftKings points with a price tag of $7,300. And so image number 2 is Allen Robinson. We move on to image number 3 here in the Guess Who contest here tonight. Again, hashtag DKTV. You're tweeting at DraftKings. And we will keep it on that image for a few more moments as you guys get your guesses in. Once we have the high sign that someone has answered correctly from Twitter, we will.
So I'm winning then the competition?
You are tied 1-1 with Andrew.
Well, but winning really.
Whatever will get you to sleep.
Because he cheated the first one.
I don't know if
I don't know how that's cheating.
Well, he cheated the first one, and there's no way he's going to get Jordan Reed on this next one.
The Deshaun Jackson reception, again, as we keep an eye on this sweat for our buddy who had a ton of guests in the background. I believe it was in the $1 million play action. It was, in fact, Rob in the 1 million play action. Let's check in on his score here. He is up to 25th with the score with the reception there. Actually, sorry, he jumps up to 12th place with the reception there from the wide receiver, Deshaun Jackson. So we'll keep an eye on that one for him. We do have a winner for that contest, Dave and Andrew. The answer was?
I even tried to give Andrew a hint.
No, it's Reed, right?
Yeah, I said he's not going to get Reed. So
right, that's not a hint. That's you cheating.
Oh.
So the second winner was at Dino Dominci. He picked up a ticket as well. And Jordan Reed was the third one. We have a fourth and final one. We will have no early reveals from Andrew or David.
So David's winning. We're 45 seconds. There's a 45-second delay. So by the time we say it, someone's already going to get it. So I'm winning 2-1, Andrew needs to guess as soon as he sees the picture.
Well, hold on.
The winner.
How are you even seeing this? Because I'm waiting for it to come up on the YouTube stream.
Me too. As soon as it did, I guess Reed. Like that second. I would have won the Twitter contest.
I didn't see it until 30 seconds after you said that.
But it's Twitter, so there's a 45-second delay. So I say that me and Andrew just go at it because someone's going to get it with 45 seconds.
The winner of the third one was CMG 311, who picked up the Jordan Reed ticket. We have one last one here. It is again hashtag DKTV at DraftKings for this final one. We're letting this one sit up a little longer as you see the right shoulder pad there of the player. David's point here is that we're on a delay, and with that delay and where it's going, we can continue to have them guess. We were going to wait one more second as we wait for answers to hashtag DKTV. We have a winner on Twitter. David, are you going to take this one home? Andrew, do you know who that is?
Go ahead, Dave.
No, Andrew, you go ahead.
Now you don't know. I'll say Kirk Cousins.
David?
Jeez. I don't know. It looks like a 7. Is that a 7?
It may be.
I don't know.
A former New York Jet, I believe, there. A current, I believe he may be on Kansas City. We will reveal this image now.
Macklin?
It is Mike DeVito.
Who?
Mike DeVito, lineman, defensive lineman for Kansas City.
Get out of here. What the heck are we putting linemen on here? This is a freaking fantasy football show.
Some people play
that's for like Levitan or Silva. Maybe they could get that, but
IDP. There are people.
This is the worst for a DraftKings show. This is I cry foul. Give me my 2 shots.
That's a tough one.
The winner on that one was Chaco_Lot. Chaco Lot.
That's a good name.
Chaco_.
It kind of reminds me of the candy.
That's an astute observation. Appreciate that one. As we continue on here, we have one more image here. We have a bonus one, and we will put that up now. Again, hashtag DKTV at DraftKings with your answers. It is a bonus one. We have a 5th one here. Hashtag DKTV at DraftKings. We will
I can't believe you used Danny DeVito's brother, Mike DeVito, as an ant. Like, this is just.
Is there a better movie than Twins?
This show has gone off the rails. Dan, don't start with me. Don't start with me. Yes.
You're more of a don't throw a mama from the train?
Stop it. I told you. Stop it.
Or are you Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
This is a Packer.
Oh, so you want Batman 2. You want all right, that's fair.
Is this Dick Rogers?
We wait for the high sign of hashtag DKTV, a winner on Twitter. We will reveal the answer momentarily.
I want to say Jeff Janis, but I don't. These guys, I don't know what they're doing now with these bonus pictures.
It's obviously Jordy Nelson.
Why do you say obvious?
Because
obvious.
They're tricking us using players that aren't even active.
So we have hashtag DKTV at DraftKings with your answers, waiting for a winner on this one. As David and Andrew continue to guess, we have the high sign. There is a winner.
Adam Levitan. It's freaking Adam Levitan. I'm reading it right now on the show.
Andrew, do you have a guess? You say Jordy Nelson?
Jordy Nelson.
David?
I'll say Jeff Janis.
Jeff Janis. And the answer is? The answer is?
Chat is saying AJ Hawk.
AJ Hawk.
Or whoever the long snapper is for the Green Bay.
I can't even see. Who do we have there, guys? I don't even see a jersey number there. Oh, Justin Perillo.
Oh, Perillo.
All right. Okay.
Forgot about Perillo.
Freaking new game next week. It's called Play Like Fantasy. Oh, gosh.
A big pass play for Dallas down to the 2-yard line to Des Bryant. Gets them in position there as David continues to tilt. Guess who here? So I mean, should we follow the rules of?
We should follow the rules as far as make these guys that we're answering the questions for a fantasy football show be fantasy relevant. That's what we should do. If I was in Boston right now, I would rip off my headset. I would go to Jay and I would say, as Coach K would say, "What are you doing right now?" I'd freaking toss.
You blame Jay for this, huh? That's interesting. Jay's
the one publishing these pictures. He's the guy. He's the last person to do
line of defense. Is that what you're saying?
So Jay, this is on you. This train wreck is on you.
I think it was a rousing success.
I still think I won though. So okay, it's okay.
@_bracketattack_ is the winner of the 5th and final ticket. Dallas on the doorstep here. 5:52 remaining in this contest as they try to put some points on the board other than a field goal. But it does look like a potential 9-9 tie is upon us shortly. So, David, you are not a fan of said game. I can appreciate your tilt level here as it may have not been as fantasy relevant as you may have wanted.
Listen.
I'm listening. I'm here for you. Go ahead.
I am missing the season finale of Fargo right now to be on the show and watch this Dallas Cowboy Washington Redskin putrid game with you. The least thing that you guys could do is make the Guess Who pictures of people that are fantasy relevant. That's all I will say.
I hate to break it to you, but at the end of the show, they throw them in a wood chipper.
Don't! Andrew, do not. Worse than some other people.
I don't know if you've seen the end of Titanic, but the boat sinks. So, spoiler alert. Just want to throw that.
Well, and Fargo is based on a true story. So,
right. Very true. Right. So, back to this game, as it looks like the Redskins defense may have held there. We are
okay. We're going to have one more.
Yes,
so,
we are. So we are working.
So they're
on
cycling through pictures of ball boys right now. I know it.
Well, they're going to look at John Jastrzemski, the New England Patriots.
I'm brushing up on assistant head coaches as we speak.
Maybe you see Rex Ryan's foot come onto the screen here.
Whoa. You just took it to a kinky level that I am not comfortable with.
I didn't say anybody else's foot. I said,
but I am proud of you because that was not a vanilla answer. That was a kinky Rocky Road answer.
I would have gone with Rocky Road as well. That's what happens in a 9-6 ball game between the Redskins and the Cowboys. Now, Adam, as we Adam's not here. Andrew, as we look at this contest, the second week in a row I've done that. I apologize, Andrew. Things happen.
I go by Leviton or Wiggins, one of the two.
All right, Leviton.
Not Adam.
Just call him Andrew Wiggins.
There you go.
Makasupa, right? That's where we can go with
that
there.
too.
So we are looking at another Monday night contest that is a bit underwhelming. Do you see anything changing in the way you own players, or is this just something we have to live with from a Monday night hammer, liking to have guys going on Monday night, maybe being influenced by having some action here on Monday night with somebody playing? We've seen so many terrible games on Monday night. Is this now no longer an anomaly and more of a trend? Or is this simply just week over week what we are given from a Monday night perspective?
Yeah, I think it just depends on what the game is. I prefer it when it's a game like this, as far as just from drafting a team standpoint, because usually the primetime games, if you're playing Thursday contests, of course, Thursday night games, and then Sunday night and Monday night games, people like to have players in those games because they're likely to be watching the game, and they'll overdraft them a little bit. So some weeks they're high-scoring affairs. You have a lot of really good plays, and then people get really heavy on those plays, and it just kind of throws off ownership levels a little bit. And I'm not a huge fan of that because you feel like you have to maybe get a little overweight that game because they are good plays and people are going to be forcing it in. But when it's a game like this and there's nothing really in play, I prefer that, because if you were playing someone tonight, for the most part, probably making a mistake. I think the Redskins D were a good play. But outside that, like maybe McFadden in a tournament, there just wasn't a lot to like here outside of some long shot tournament approaches. So for cash games and that type of stuff, I'm totally fine fading the game. And since there wasn't a lot in play tonight, it just kind of makes it less stressful sitting around all day Monday waiting for the Monday night game. So fine by me. And I think next week's game is pretty bad too.
Hey, I'm watching this qualifier since we do have hockey 8812. He moved back into 5th place with that field goal.
Oh, nice.
So 9-9 the score now, and Kirk Cousins leads the offense back out onto the field. A note just up on the broadcast was that there's only been one game in this Dallas-Washington rivalry that has had no touchdowns, and that was in 1972. So currently bucking the trend of this rivalry with just no TDs yet tonight. 9-9 the score. 4 minutes remaining before we head towards some potential extra football if we do not get a score for the lead here from either team, as you are trusting Kirk Cousins or Matt Castle to lead their teams down the field to a potential score. We are waiting on a potential 6th and final Guess Who. We'll keep an eye on that if it comes back by popular demand and or not. And we will check back in on some of our qualifiers as Dave just touched on there. Hockey 8812 is up to 5th place, which would be the final spot there in that qualifier. And we spoke before to Rush Impact Auto, who is fairly safely in 1st place. And it's a 2 times qualifier, so it looks like a seat is fairly secure there in that 172nd, 173rd qualifier out to San Diego. The week over week, we go through the top plays. We go through some guys who were surprising. We mentioned Russell Wilson, Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin when Adam was on earlier, Andrew, talking through guys who have surprised you a bit this season and continue to be a little bit cheaper priced on DraftKings. Doug Baldwin would seem to head that list for me week over the past 3. He's started to become more and more a focal point of that offense. Do you see Seattle continuing this offensive trend of putting up some major points? And do you see Doug Baldwin as a viable wide receiver punt play as long as he continues to be sub 4,000 on DraftKings?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't love his matchup this week, but he was only 3,800. So I think I was actually really surprised. What did he come in, about 5% in the Millie Maker? I thought he'd be higher than that given the outburst he had the week prior. But he's kind of an underrated receiver. I think he's a solid NFL player. And really it's about if that offense is clicking. And a lot of times they prefer just to run the ball. But now that Jimmy Graham's out, they don't have a ton of targets when they do want to throw it. And Baldwin's kind of their number one guy. So I think that I wouldn't count on him having these big games. I mean, he only caught 5 balls this week. Just so happened that he found the end zone twice. Obviously, last week he had 3 touchdowns. He's not a big touchdown guy, but if they're in types of games where you think it'll be a shootout, I do think he'll be a good target going forward. And it looks like they get Baltimore this week. So I don't know if it'll be a shootout, but a good matchup for the passing game at least.
Now, a question David asked of Adam before, and I'll pose it to you. Panthers or Seahawks? Who would you like more coming out of the NFC at the current moment?
Well, I think you got to take the Panthers.
Wrong. That was actually the wrong answer. Sorry. Thanks for playing.
Well, the thing about the Seahawks is that they're finding their groove now. So they're a dangerous team. There's no doubt about it. But I do think losing Jimmy Graham is a blow. And we don't know if we'll see Marshawn Lynch again. I don't know if that even matters, frankly. But, man, I don't know. You got Cam dancing in the end zone. I'm going with Cam.
We have our final Guess Who ready. We'll bring it up on screen in a moment. Remember, it is hashtag DKTV, and it is at DraftKings. Again, hashtag DKTV. Tweet at DraftKings. Dave and Andrew will have guesses as well momentarily as we give this a few more minutes to percolate there on Twitter. Hashtag DKTV at DraftKings. A ticket is on the line. We appreciate you guys.
Say percolate again, Dan.
Percolate.
Oh, yeah.
That so am I getting that? Am I getting to that level, Dave? Am I starting to, maybe up the game here, a little less vanilla, a little bit more, maybe Neapolitan or maybe a little coffee ice cream here?
No,
you can say no. It's fine. Again, hashtag DKTV at DraftKings with your answers, waiting for a winner on Twitter. And we keep an eye on this 9-9 game as the Redskins punted the ball back to the Cowboys. If the Cowboys put up points here, could move the standings as well down, going over that 10-point threshold for if they were to score a touchdown, would go over the 13-point threshold for points on DraftKings. We have a winner on Twitter. So
Brandon Bolden?
The answer is not Brandon Bolden. Andrew?
LaFell.
It is not Brandon LaFell. Let's reveal who this is.
White.
James White is the answer.
Yes.
Second answers do not qualify for the competition, so no one wins that round here on from our panel.
But if there was a winner, I would win.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
If that's how this works. We have a winner on Twitter, and that is Max Suchevitz. Max Suchevitz on Twitter wins the ticket, and a successful run there of Guess Who. Whatever David Kitchen says aside, a well-received game from the watchers here of the DK Sweat Show on DKTV.
I thought you were going to say Max Dullery was the winner.
Oh, yeah. That was just like, he was like, oh, what have I not won on draft? Oh, this competition.
How many, he has what, 6 or 7 seats, I think, for the San Diego tournament?
Did you guys hear about the boxing ring that they're setting up for Max and Kandia there?
I hope that they can get that on film. I don't know if they've ever met. Probably not. The great meeting of Max and Kandia.
Do you think it would be like a conversation, or like the blow by, like the Harbaugh blow by, where he just like shakes his hand and just keeps walking?
I don't know. Max is a super nice guy, so probably not. But I don't know. I've never met Kandia.
So, Dave,
Max will be fine.
Strategy changes, right? When you have that many seats in a live final, you're talking about a much smaller scale tournament as compared to some of these tournaments to get into the live final. You have 200 seats, but when you have the potential for 5 or 6 of them, you're able to do a little bit more maybe strategy, right? Where you're trying to figure out different cores and different potential big scoring teams in a final such as this.
Max not a big guy on trying different cores. So if I had to guess, he'll probably have a really tight core and rotate 2 or 3 players on every team, and he'll either have like 6 of the top 10 or 0.
From a maybe outside of Max, Dave, does it benefit? Well, of course, it benefits somebody to have multiple, but does it make it to a different strategy, you think, than somebody going in with 1 or 2 as compared to 5 or 6?
Well, I think
I'd actually like to have 1 compared to 6.
I was trying to make a transition.
The Austin Powers phrase when he's playing blackjack. Sir, I'd encourage you to hit. No, I too like to live dangerously.
Great.
5 or 6, you get to play. It's really, for me in football, it's really about the quarterback, wide receiver stack, the offense that you want to use, the leverage plays that you're able to use. So, when you're just using 1, you're taking a flyer on really one option. When you've got 5 or 6, you've got multiple different, like you can go 3 safe, 3 risky. You could go 1 safe, 5. There's just a plethora of options that you get when you have those.
I think one of the best things about it, because there's no question if you have one lineup, the proper strategy is to go contrarian, get off those chalk picks and hope that they don't pay off that week. But it would be nice to play a chalky team. So if you have even 2, if I had 2 lineups, I'd probably do 1 that was pretty chalky, stick to what I thought were the best plays, maybe 1 or 2 picks off the board. But if you only have 1 entry, I think you definitely got to zig a little bit while everyone else is zagging, because it's too difficult. You can have so many things go right and still not win because everyone else will have those plays. Like if you had Cam or Ben this week, you would have had a really high-scoring team, but it's hard to differentiate yourself.
We have a little bit left here in the fourth quarter, 9-9 the score, as we look like Dallas and the Redskins could potentially head to overtime. We did have the note before on the broadcast that only one other game in their history has wound up with no touchdown. So we'll see if that result holds as well here. Looking back at the top value plays of the week, Andrew, and looking at names like Ted Ginn Jr., James White, Bilal Powell, you throw in Darren Sproles, Brandon Coleman, and others who are on the cheap end of the spectrum but putting up big points. For someone who's new to GPPs or new to playing on DraftKings, how much do you need to stay away from chasing points? How much do you have to stay away from worrying too much about the previous week's results? Now, trends are one thing, and trying to stay on top of guys who are emerging into lineups. But these sort of freak occurrences like Bilal Powell on that catch and run for a touchdown, vaulting him up. Do you see a problem with chasing after guys putting up similar points week over week?
Yeah, I think it depends a lot on the situation. Like Powell, of course, seemed a bit fluky, but like Brandon Coleman was one that you probably could have seen the production coming if you thought the Saints were going to be successful in scoring the ball, because Brandon Cooks was covered by Josh Norman, who's the best corner in the league. So he was going to give him a tough time, and they were missing Willie Snead. So somebody had to be out there catching the ball. Maybe you thought it was going to be Colston, but Colston really doesn't seem to have much left in the tank. So that kind of left Coleman, who, man, that dude is big. He is super tall. I'm kind of disappointed he hasn't been more involved.
Hey,
he's kind of a sleeper for me coming in.
He's a terrible player from a terrible university.
But he is a big dude, though. He is so tall.
I was going to ask David what university he went to, but
trust me, I know what university he went to because he cost me plenty of money during college football. He's got they were projecting him as a first rounder, and he was terrible at Rutgers last year.
Well, he blew out his knee the year before. Wasn't right. Shouldn't have come back when he did. And now seems to finally be getting healthy.
Since when does your knee have to do with dropping the ball?
Well, he didn't get separation at all that year from any defensive back in any.
All right, okay, fine. Dan, you hit your Rutgers quote
that's
in the
fine.
second quarter. I don't want to talk about Brandon Coleman anymore.
Well, but applying him to daily fantasy, I wouldn't necessarily expect him to continue that. He's had opportunities this year. It's like Levitan always talks about. Sometimes guys are put into positions because they've earned it, and other times just there because they're the last man standing, and it was probably more of that this week for him.
Such a good quote.
In the Arizona-St. Louis game, we touched on Gurley earlier, but yeah, Carson Palmer and these wide receivers continue to put up gaudy numbers. 26 for 40, 356, 2 TDs to no interceptions for Palmer. John Brown, Michael Floyd with 100-yard receiving days. No TDs for them, but nonetheless, you did put up some big points there. Are there too many options from a wide receiver perspective, Andrew?
Yes.
Is it just too hard to gauge?
And now they have Nelson as well, that has just come on the scene like gangbusters. So you've got like 4 to 5 options for Palmer. So like when you want to play Palmer, you're playing naked Palmer. You can't really stack them. I know a lot of projection systems had Fitzgerald really high last week, and I think it's just like taking into consideration the past season and not like the number of options that he has going forward. But Palmer's a great play. You just can't trust one wide receiver.
Potential turnover here by Deshaun Jackson on the punt return after completely reversing field and coming back across. Looks like he may have turned the ball over deep in his own end. We will keep an eye on that and whether or not the Cowboys are in a position in the red zone to put some points on the board. The tough return there from Jackson trying to make something happen and bring it back around. As you look at those wide, you also throw David Johnson into the mix, right, David, where you have him as a pass catching running back who splits out. It just too many options makes
fails. No, I mean, but this is a great offense. Like I'm really looking forward to the NFC side of the playoffs. I think it's going to be really fun this season because you've got a lot of great teams, and you've got the Panthers. Obviously, you've got the Seahawks, who I like, and you have the Cardinals. So I think home field advantage is definitely going to come into play, but it's this Super Bowl's up for the taking for the NFC side this year.
You're not looking forward to the Indianapolis Colts in the playoffs?
Well, it might be the Texans. I mean, who knows? Like the AFC South is whew.
It's a hot mess.
That's what it is. Yeah, the AFC South and NFC East are like trying to one up each other for like absolute just incompetence.
It is continued here tonight as we watch it live in this Monday Night Football contest, 9-9, and looks like Deshaun Jackson giving it away there in his own half the field, even worse in the own red zone. Andrew, I asked you earlier, and continuing on this, what surprise this far in this season? We've seen a lot of football. Is there any one player, any one play over the course of the season that sticks out to you? Something looking back as we await the end of this contest tonight that you look back on from a player who's emerged maybe and become a very viable week-over-week daily fantasy player, or somebody you expected to be at least solid and part of cash game lineups on a regular basis who has disappointed?
I think just overall it's been a sloppy year of football. There's been a lot of injuries. We haven't really had the workhorse type characters to rely on. At times it looks like they've emerged. Like you start to feel comfortable playing Julio. He's getting 15 plus targets, catching 10 balls, and all of a sudden he's giving you duds. And as far as the running backs, like you've got Adrian Peterson who's having a nice season, but it just seems like he hasn't lined up in a lot of great matchups. I don't know. He hasn't been the guy I've played as much as I should have in hindsight. And last year you had DeMarco Murray, you had Forte, you had Le'Veon Bell. And it just seems like we've been lacking those guys that you can really count on every single week this year. You had C.J. Anderson emerge at the end of last year, who was awesome. So I was hoping kind of as we got to the end, maybe we'd have some of those emerging. D'Angelo Williams has been very, very good, at least when Big Ben is out there. He's a guy I think I'll ride from here on out. But, it's been tough. I think overall it's been an unpredictable year. I think a lot of things have happened that people didn't really anticipate. And, just looking at the standings, there's some bad teams that are in contention to make the playoff. I mean, heck, the Bears were a playoff team before they had that terrible loss at home this week to the 49ers. So just a weird season. And maybe we'll get some consistency down the stretch, but I'm not counting on it.
It is Cowboys ball within the Redskins territory in the red zone, and they will look to punch one in here for some points and to go up. They're not at 9-9 with the Redskins, about 1 minute to go. Looking at the top running backs, Dave, we have Todd Gurley and Devonta Freeman as two of the top 10 from a yards gained perspective. Gurley we talked about earlier, but Devonta Freeman and that entire Falcons offense, we talked about Julio Jones a lot. We talked about Matt Ryan. Is the Freeman experience over? Is the sort of highs that we saw earlier in the year a distant memory, and we have to really worry about rostering Freeman moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's just his Atlanta offense is just terrible right now. So it's not just Freeman, it's Freeman and Julio. You can't trust them. If you look at their season, like they've just been absolutely horrific. And, 10 points against the Titans, 10 points against the Vikings, losing to just some really bad teams. Their offense is just in really bad shape. And you have now the opposing defenses really have their numbers.
Yeah, I think with them, too, it's been the turnovers. Like, they've just murdered themselves with untimely turnovers in particular.
And in the red zone. Like, they were terrible in the red zone.
Yeah, when half the time in the red zone, problem. And not only from a real football standpoint, but that's killing the chances of your fantasy players because you need them to score those touchdowns. And you see it, Freeman hasn't scored a touchdown in probably 4, 5, 6 weeks. It's been a long time, even though he's still racking up the yards. And he had 9 receptions this week. So I do think you can still count on him to an extent. But, man, I mean, I was just so frustrated with myself for kind of having Julio be my main wide receiver. When you watch that offense, I've watched in the last I don't know how many weeks look terrible. And then, you flip on Sunday Night Football and the Steelers are out there just making it look so easy. And it's like the cheapest. I mean, it was so freaking obvious in hindsight. Frustrating.
A little bit of redemption, it would seem, here for Darren McFadden as he falls into the end zone for the score after putting the ball on the turf and losing 2 fumbles earlier in the game. The Deshaun Jackson fumble costing Deshaun Jackson
So
owners
that-
a bit.
So that actually gives a Hockey 8812 2 seats. He's
Right.
now 4th and 5th in this mega qualifier.
Right, because of the move against the Redskins defense and the Darren McFadden score there pushes him to 4th and 5th. So not a bad 3-day string there for Hockey 8812 as he gets the potential for 2 tickets to San Diego and the opportunity to play for the big prize out there as they go out to LA. After the top 10 move on, McFadden had a rough go of it, but the turnover by Deshaun Jackson, and that counts as negative points for Jackson owners. So we saw some movement there as well.
What a freaking weekend for this guy. You're talking about 2 seats, and he put in 3 teams. So he wins $250,000. He puts in $15,000 worth of qualifiers. He gets 2 of the 3. So that right there is $160,000 seat value. So you're talking about in a weekend, he made at least 410 with the possibility now of winning much more in San Diego in a couple weeks.
So dreams are made of.
Welcome to the big time. Hockey 8812.
That is the big time.
Moving up to 4th and 5th, looks like some movement. What do we have? A team with the Redskins defense behind, another Redskins D, another Redskins D. So that makes a lot of sense of why the movement was there. Not many who can catch him. Not sure if there are any Deshaun Jackson owners within striking distance. Would not look like it here, but the fumble hurting the cause there. We bring back on Hockey 8812 to discuss this change of events now, Dan. I think it's been a fairly solid 3 days for you, and it is shaping up to be potentially just a little bit better here as you have slid into 4th and 5th place, respectively. 2 different teams potentially qualifying for the live finals out in San Diego. How are you feeling at the present moment?
I am excited and sick to my stomach at the same time. Like I said, huge Redskins fan. Like, I'm celebrating and cussing myself all at the same time. Like, I just want the game to end now. Like, somehow if the Redskins drive down the field and get a touchdown for 2-point conversion, that's fine. But no crazy special teams plays, no pick sixes. As long as we get past that, we're fine.
So the situation now, as you said, looking to focus on the end of the contest. You were waiting for zeros to come across the board and solidify this one, but not only 1 ticket potentially, but 2 on the line here as you are in 4th and 5th place. You are out in San Diego now, back home?
Yeah, I'm back home. We're on the East Coast. Like I said, I live in Maryland, right near D.C. and Baltimore. But I've been born and raised a Skins fan. But, yeah, we're back home now. We got home late last night.
So then you have the potential to fly out again and see lovely San Diego.
Yes, I'll have a work. This is a side thing for me. So I'll have a very upset workplace. I'm going to take off a whole another 5 days. But they may be able to get by it.
I think they may, and the potential for some life-altering money is there in front of you. So maybe that changes the work situation as well as you move forward into this live final. I was talking with Dave Kitchen about it, and the obvious answer is, of course, it matters. But having 2 seats as opposed to 1 here, do you see that immediately changing how you look at and how you enter this live final? Do you change your approach having multiple seats, or you take each seat individually?
I think having 2 seats gives you a good advantage to kind of play. I can play one safe lineup and something maybe a little more extreme, maybe even more GPP than normal. I know, obviously, the whole goal is to win, but at the same time, if you can play kind of one of each, makes it a lot easier kind of going into it. And also, if there's more than 1 player, 2 players you like, you got a chance to play them both. Like, if you're excruciating over which QB, if you can play both of them, then, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
And a little bit of a wrinkle here. You have the live final in San Diego and then the potential to move on to the final 10, which would be the live final then on ESPN in January, which is a little bit of a change. Once you get to that point, there's some nice investment in what you've already won, the potential to win big, obviously, with the live finals therein. Will this settle in? Will this become real at any point? How the past 3 days have gone for your part-time job?
It's began to settle in. I mean, I think it's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, going back out to San Diego again in 2 weeks would be absurd. Like, I mean, that I don't know if it would settle in. I may take a couple more weeks, but I mean, it's different. It's crazy. It's like you said, it's life changing. I mean, it's stuff that really helps out. We got an 18-month-old daughter, so I mean, she'll have a college fund right away. So I mean, that's like, it kind of takes a weight off your back. So it's pretty awesome. It's something I would have never expected a few years ago. I always enjoyed fantasy football. I didn't think it would be a borderline second career or anything like that, but it's sweet.
All right, we're keeping an eye on here, as it looks like you may be getting a Deshaun Jackson touchdown. So
Deshaun Jackson, I can't see my TV. Okay.
So we keep an eye on what influence that has on your situation, which is on this computer over here, and the rest of our sweats here, as it looks like Jackson hauled that one in. We do know Jackson was owned in the Millionaire Maker. Our good friend Rob Feld, who has jumped up to 4th place in the $1 million play action with that TD score by Deshaun Jackson. That's Robert Feldman, who we had on earlier, jumps up to 4th place. We're talking to him about his situation. And we see here in the qualifier, doesn't look like any change has come across. So you're still sitting in 4th and 5th place in the qualifier. And now we are tied 16-16. And so we now look at the potential for overtime one, which can influence a bad snap or a bad hold there almost cost them the extra point attempt. But we have 16-16 the score. We look towards the potential for overtime here, but even more so the influence that could have on your sweat and other sweats around. So we are going to keep an eye on this as it goes towards the end of regulations with about 45 seconds left, and keep an eye on this one. We are going to wrap the show tonight here at the end of regulation. The DK Sweat Show at the end of the 4th quarter will come to an end as well. But Dan, you now have the Redskins tied. You have the fan has a tied 16-16 game with the hated Dallas Cowboys. But you do have the potential now for special teams to be on the field, and the potential for the Washington Redskins defense to be back out there, which could shift some of this momentum a good deal. I'm going to wish you good night, because I think this is a situation here with 16-16. Great video, perhaps, but give you the opportunity to decompress a little bit, take in the end of this game, and sweat out the final few moments as you look to secure 2 tickets out to San Diego here in this mega qualifier. We appreciate the time tonight. Congrats again on the big college football final, and we wish you the best of luck as this game hopefully comes to a conclusion here in regulation for your sake and for the other sweats going on throughout DraftKings. So again, thanks for the time and best of luck the rest of the way.
All right, thank you.
So that was Dan Knight, who, as we said, took home the college football live final and was able to pick up the victory there, and now looking to pick up 2 seats. He's in 4th and 5th place in the 5-seat mega qualifier for the Fantasy Football World Championship. We've talked about it enough here, but that is out in San Diego, and 200 entries, multitude of owners, some of the top players in the industry heading out for the live finals in San Diego in about 2 weeks. It would be a second turn out there for our friend Dan Knight, as the Cowboys are going to look to drive to get into field goal range. If we can bring back in Andrew Wiggins and David Kitchen here one last time as we head towards wrapping up tonight's show. And we look at this contest that all of a sudden is 16-16, Dave. We look towards overtime. We are, as I said, going to end the sweat show as regulation ends here tonight. The Cowboys trying to string this together, but redemption for both, for McFadden and for Deshaun Jackson, as they both cost their team with fumbles, but were able to get the ball in the end zone and help out their fantasy owners here tonight.
Oh, man. The worst. But who knows? I know a lot of people are planning on. I mean, I had the Redskins defense, so this is like the worst. If you have a Redskins defense, this is the worst, unless they get a pick six or a scoop and score.
It's still, what do they have, like 7 points or something?
Yeah, I mean, not bad, but not as good as what it was.
Yeah, you paid $2,300. You should be pleased.
DFS life advice from Andrew Wiggins.
Sorry, Andrew. Sorry, didn't know you were being so judgmental.
I paid $300 more for the Bears, and I got 7 points. So,
okay.
I don't know if that's the benchmark we want to be setting for comparisons here tonight, but the Bears can be thrown out there. But we now have the potential for overtime, Dave, and that can shift the balance of a lot of these sweats, right? Where we have the potential for any sort of changes between the offenses as they try to push towards the end zone, as Matt Castle trying to do so here to get his team into field goal range.
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting for as terrible as this game has been and how much we've ragged on it. The last few minutes here have been pretty exciting.
And when you have a close game in the NFL, it comes down to the end. You have the potential for some big plays. The Cowboys are facing a short yardage situation here, trying to just get a little bit closer for the field goal attempt to give them an opportunity to put it through the uprights. But as we keep an eye on this, Dave, looking at the Millionaire Maker sweat in fourth place is C-Web, who has the Redskins defense. So we need a big change here, and an interception on its own would vault him back up to second place, correct? But no further.
Right.
6 points down.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, these teams, they're just wanting the games to end. But especially of the Redskins D, because you have the potential to lose even more points.
Yeah, that is true.
And coming onto the field is one of our Guess Who contestants. We'll see if there's a Guess Who jinx, like the Sports Illustrated cover jinx, the Madden cover jinx.
Yes, it's close. Sports Illustrated, Madden, DraftKings TV, Guess Who game where offensive linemen are mentioned.
It's a 2B. 2A is Madden, and
No.
2B is
No. We were up there. Like I really thought this Guess Who game has the potential to be the next Madden or whatever game. But now when they started incorporating these no-namers, it turned into like a D-list game.
And it is a bit of Bailey on the rocks there for the field goal from Dan Bailey. Puts it through the uprights. 19-16 the score with 9 seconds remaining. So the Redskins defenses do take a hit on that one. 19-16 the score, 9 seconds remaining. A long kick there from Bailey as he puts it through the uprights, and we look towards 9 seconds left, and we can wrap this one up hopefully at the end of this contest. And it looks like we will have a wire-to-wire winner tonight on the Millionaire Maker, as one Don't Try This at Home one will be the benefactor of this 1916 tilt between the Cowboys and the Redskins, and be the potential Week 13 Millionaire Maker winner here on DraftKings.com. So, gentlemen, it is a Week 13 that is coming to a close. 9 seconds on the clock, barring some shenanigans here, which are always possible on a kick return. See if we get a little bit of trickeration from the Washington team if they try to pull something out here with 9 seconds left. But anything that stands out from Week 13, Dave, that we haven't talked about yet? Probably not. But anything from Week 13 that stands out to you, lessons learned or information that you're going to take moving forward, injuries that are influencing possible plays next week, or guys you've seen that may, as Andrew was saying before, now have the opportunity moving into Week 14 to have bigger roles within their offenses?
Yes.
Would you care to elaborate?
Lots of lessons. I'll be watching the news. We were talking about week 14. So you have to realize that there are a lot of season-long players that are starting that are going to be kind of, I think, hopefully going to be thrown into the DraftKings pool because their season's over and they're coming in. And so I think this is a good time for established daily fantasy players. I also think it's a time where, as we start nearing the end, you've got teams that are it's all about the backups, it seems. So pay attention to the news and go from there. But to answer your question, yes.
David, Kitchen, Andrew Wiggins, thanks for the time tonight. You guys were great as always, hanging tight through a tough game here. 1916, the final. The Dallas Cowboys take home the victory, and now we have an amazing NFC East to keep an eye on. 5-7 for 3 teams, 4-8 for the Cowboys. All of a sudden, the Eagles are tied for first place somehow or another. So we'll keep an eye on that division as we move forward. As always, Adam Levitan, David Kitchen, Andrew Wiggins, great job here on the show. For our guests, thanks for coming on. Congratulations to one, don't try this at home, one, our Week 13 Millionaire Maker winner. We look forward to Week 14. Don't forget, it's a $3 entry to the Millionaire Maker next week. Great job, as always, by the DraftKings broadcast team here in Boston, and thanks for watching the DK Sweat Show right here on DraftKings TV. We wish you a good night. We'll see you next week here on the DK Sweat Show.
That's a wrap, yo. Freaking wrap, yo.
Get to see Steph Curry tomorrow.